Chapter 56-26. There was actually such a thing. The heavenly Tao actually appeared and blocked the way, not allowing the bamboo garden family of 3 to enter. This was really unheard of. The Western master, who was blooming with joy, chuckled as he stroked his beard. "How is it, little madam? Are you convinced now? Hurry up and come down, don't waste everyone's time. Just because you can't, doesn't mean others can't." Lord Jojo turned around and retorted, "You can't, your whole family can't." The Western master was speechless. Why did he feel that this sentence was extremely ear-piercing? The Western master couldn't be bothered to continue talking to Arbor. He directly faced the Heavenly Tao and bowed respectfully. "Lord Heavenly Tao, time is limited. Since we have been teleported here, it means that the exploration has already begun. Now that this madam is blocking the way and not letting others pass, she is wasting everyone's time. I hope Lord Heavenly Tao can deal with it as soon as possible." The Heavenly Tao directly gave the Western master a bolt of lightning. The Western master was completely unlike Imo Lien, who frequently withstood lightning tribulations and remained unperturbed in the face of danger. He had long gotten used to being struck by lightning, and now, he carried his self-developed lightning-resistant frying pan everywhere he went. The Western master was stunned by this bolt of lightning. Just as he was about to dodge, he realized that his body was bound by the power of the Heavenly Tao, and he couldn't escape at all. Just like that, under the watchful eyes of thousands of people, the clap of thunder directly exploded on top of his head. The Southern master cried out in shock. He glanced over and saw that the Western master's head had been blasted black. A black Mediterranean circle appeared above his head, and not a single blade of grass grew on his bald head. His face had been struck black by the lightning, leaving only the whites of his eyes. He faced the crowd, his eyelids trembling, and his eyes rolling back and forth in fear. The Heavenly Tao roared, "Audacious human, how dare you order me to do something? I want to deal with it, but I don't want to deal with it. How can I allow you to talk nonsense?" The Southern master hurriedly lowered his body in fear and trepidation, putting on a respectful posture. "Lord Heavenly Tao, please forgive me. Lord Heavenly Tao, please forgive me." Everyone hurriedly followed her and bowed together. Arbor glanced at Heavenly Tao expressionlessly. "Stop showing off and let me pass." Tian Dao was so angry that he was jumping up and down, waving his arms on the steps. You little bastard. This old man has only tolerated you for the sake of your master and martial uncle. Don't think that this old man is afraid of you." Baby Mo suddenly started bawling. The light congealing mirror in his hand trembled as he hurriedly leaped up and rubbed it against Baby Mo's cheek, caressing it continuously. This cry frightened Heavenly Tao so much that his body suddenly trembled. His narrowed eyes suddenly turned round, and he roared shrilly, "What are you trying to do?" Sobbing, Baby Mo took out a saint-grade golden summoning talisman. "You scared this baby and mother. I'm going to summon Grand Master and Martial Grand Uncle to settle the score with you." The Heavenly Tao was so frightened that he staggered. He hurriedly stretched out a hand and shouted, "No." Baby Mo turned to look at him with teary eyes. Tian Dao hurriedly said, "Cold, calm down. Calm down. Put down the talisman in your hand. I'll let you pass." Everyone. Was there something wrong with their vision? The Heavenly Tao would actually compromise with a 4 or 5-year-old child? Illusion, it must be an illusion. "You're scaring me," Baby Mo cried out while sobbing. Tiandao's eyebrows twitched, revealing a kind and amiable expression. Chapter 56-27. He shook his face and comforted him. "Little dumpling, Grandpa Tian Dao knows that you are a good kid, right?" Baby Mo nodded. "Put down the sacred grade golden talisman in your hand." The smile on Tiandao's face became even more amiable. Everything can be discussed. Ah, everything can be discussed. Cut the crap. Hurry up and get out of the way. Arbor grumbled in annoyance. Tiandao's face was bitter as he glanced at Sir Jojo. Jojo, how about we make a deal? You can go in. All of you can go in. But shouldn't we be more or less the same? Sir Jojo's little face was tense as he looked at him expressionlessly. A straightforward person does not resort to insinuations. Get straight to the point. Tiandao fantasized about rushing over and trampling on Sir Jojo right now to give him a good beating. You little thing, I won't be calculative with you. I'll just let you defy the heavens all the way. I'll turn a blind eye to it until now. I still have to continue indulging your son. You still freaking want me to get straight to the point and talk about your granny's ancestors. Sir Jojo waved his little hand, and 100 sacred-grade golden talisman summoning talismans appeared in the air. Tiandao at _ Tiandao. Yen #@. As long as you don't refine the sacred palace, you can do whatever you want with the rest. Tiandao stretched out a hand and roared in heartache. Then, he waved his hand and immediately removed the barrier in front of Jojo. Jojo snorted. He waved his hand and put away a bunch of summoning talismans. He said angrily, "What a waste of my time. After nagging for so long, couldn't he just let him pass earlier?" Daddy, we can go now, Daddy." Baby Mo lay on his father's shoulder, his little fist tugging on a strand of his father's long hair as he commanded excitedly. Go, Daddy, go." Mo Lien walked up the stairs in annoyance. "You talk too much." Baby Mo puffed up his cheeks and fell silent with a pout. "What's wrong?" Mo Lien patted his small body. "I said that you talk too much and you're unhappy. Little Tuanzi doesn't talk much. Big brother is the talkative one." Mo Lien sighed softly and patted her son's head. "Your brother has chosen his own path. Shouldn't you give him your blessings?" Baby Mo pursed his lips. Mo Lien reached out to rub her son's little head and chuckled softly. "Everyone's path of growth is different. Since you've made a choice, you must continue walking it. Don't you think so, little dumpling?" Baby Mo nodded vigorously. The father and son stepped onto the platform and walked to the wide entrance of the divine palace. Mr. Jojo was standing in front of the gate of the majestic palace, as slender as a willow leaf swaying in the wind. She turned around and looked at the father and son expressionlessly. She roared, "Why are you so slow? Come here." Mo Lien carried his son and quickly ran to his wife. Before the others came up, he hurriedly bent down and stole a kiss on her little face. "Wife, you miss your husband. Mother misses little dumpling." Mr. Jojo patted her son's head and then patted her husband's head. The father and son were speechless. "Let's wait for someone to come and enter together." Mo Lien pulled his dear wife's little hand and carried his son with one hand as they walked a few steps forward. They saw a note hanging at the entrance of the palace door, 38,888 Jean. Gather the strength of the crowd and knock it open to enter. Otherwise, scram. Chapter 56-28. 38,888 caddies. The people who rushed to the door all revealed strange expressions at this time. They looked at each other, and finally, someone couldn't help but howl, "Lord Tiandao. Aren't you too deceitful? Last year, the door was only 10,000 caddies. Why did it increase so much this year? You know very well how much it increased by." Tiandao thought angrily. If it weren't for you bastards who attracted those gods of plague here, he wouldn't have lost so much face just now. It's all your fault. Alright, stop talking nonsense. Let's work together to open the door. The Master of the North turned to look at the Master of the East. Brother Dongfang, let's go together. The Master of the East nodded and smiled. I will do my best. The Master of the South took a few steps forward with a smile and turned to look at the Master of the West, who was dawdling. Hey, old man, what are you dawdling for? Now is the time for you to show off. Don't tell me you want to fish in troubled waters and retreat. My cultivation has deteriorated. Aren't you all clear about it? With my little strength, forget about it. You guys go first. The Master of the South twisted her enchanting body and scolded, not like a man. Then, she smiled and walked to the side of the Master of the East. She called out sweetly, Brother Dongfang, Brother Beifang, don't worry. I won't be a coward like that old man in the West. I will definitely advance and retreat with you. The Master of the East smiled awkwardly and thanked her. He took 2 steps towards the Master of the North and pulled a small distance away from the Master of the South. However, the Master of the South acted as if she didn't see it and snuggled up to the Master of the East. Brother Dongfang, then let's start now. The Master of the East hurriedly dodged to the side, leaving the Master of the South to lean on empty space. He coughed lightly and turned to the East region cultivators, saying, Everyone, let's gather all our strength and try once. This time, the door is much heavier than last year. Everyone must not be careless. We must do our best. Yes. The Master of the South turned around and smiled enchantingly. This time, the door is close to 40,000 caddies. It's not a joke. Everyone only has 3 chances. If you can't push this door open 3 times, then you have to get lost. The cultivators who knew the rules naturally nodded in agreement. Those who were here for the first time and didn't know the rules also had grim expressions on their faces after asking others. What a joke. They had already come this far, so naturally, they couldn't back down. Master Dongfang smiled and waved his sleeves. Everyone, please. Master, please. The crowd gathered their power and gathered their saint energy. The 3 masters took the lead and stood at the front of the crowd as they gathered their 3 powerful saint energies together. At the same time, hundreds of saint energies gathered behind him. The turbulent energy was like a tidal wave as it merged with the power of the 3 masters. He let out a furious roar that sounded like a tsunami and a thunderous roar as he smashed his way toward the palace door. After a deafening sound, everyone felt the ground under their feet shake slightly. A cloud of sand and dust seemed to have slid down the door of the palace. Taking a closer look, the door of the palace did not budge at all. Not even the slightest crack could be seen. Everyone's heart skipped a beat at the same time. They suddenly opened their eyes wide and involuntarily clenched their fists. Oh no, the heavenly Tao, this huge pit, is waiting here to ruthlessly pit everyone. Chapter 56-29. Sir Jojo expressionlessly glanced behind him. He only felt that this bunch of idiots' intelligence was a bit touching. Mommy, we can't go in. Baby Mo exclaimed excitedly. Mo Lien irritably poked his forehead. You're still rejoicing in our misfortune. That's not it. Baby Mo childishly replied, I wanted to ask Mommy if we should summon little Wonton and have it kick a hole in this door. No need. Arbor glanced at his son and casually drew in the air, producing a dazzling golden talisman. Grabbing the void talisman, Xiao Mu slapped it on herself. Then, she directly passed through that palace door and passed through it. Duanyu, Supremacy Peach Blossom, and Feng Chongqing hastily shuffled a few steps forward and speechlessly looked at the expressionless Mo Lien. Your wife abandoned you and ran off, Supremacy Peach Blossom teased. The little dumpling hastily reached out to hug his dad's neck and exclaimed, Daddy, quickly chase Mommy back. Hidden in the air, Heavenly Dao watching the show, he really wanted to thrash that brat to death. Heavenly Dao was so angry, so angry, so angry. How could that damn talisman of hers pass through his heaven and earth door? Oh, impossible, impossible, absolutely impossible. Sir Jojo passed through again and expressionlessly glanced at Master Dongfang and his party, whose mouths were agape. If one had to describe Master Dongfang and his party with one emotion right now, it would absolutely be freaking seeing a ghost. Who exactly was this Madame Mo? Why could she enter and exit the sacred palace's entrance so easily and so freely without any effort? Ah! The little dumpling understands. Baby Mo's eyes brightened, and he hastily took out 2 talismans from his pocket and slapped one on himself and his dad. Daddy, let's go. With the baby in his arms, Mo Lien expressionlessly strode in with his long legs and directly passed through the hall's doors. In less than half a minute, he came back with the baby. His stoic-faced wifey turned back to glance at the father and son pair as she handed out God-rank wall-crossing talismans to the team members. Wait. Wait. Western Master Ute saw that she had distributed the talismans to more than 30 people in the team. Even Eastern Master Yu had received a talisman. He couldn't help but exclaim, why did you only give it to Eastern Master? Why didn't we? Arbor glared at him and shouted angrily, who are you? Everyone was speechless. Who the hell are you? When your son beat up the Western Master just now, you didn't even know who he was. Master Dongfang held back his laughter and said, Western Master, don't be angry. Madam Mo, young Master Mo, and I are in the same team. Are you? Since you're not, how can you ask others to treat you the same? Look, this is foresight. He knew that following young Master Mo's group was definitely a good thing. Dongfang Yu felt that it was worth it to use a small quota in exchange for the protection of a peer. The Southern Master rolled her eyes and giggled. It's fate that we meet. Madam Mo, do you want me to join your team too? Give me one of those talismans too. The Western Master glared angrily at the fence-sitter of the Southern Master. Do you have any fucking shame? What kind of lousy talisman is this? Look, you're completely bought over. Heavenly Dao was so angry that he almost vomited blood and died. He stomped his feet in the air and roared, how dare you cheat? Forget it, forget it. I'll reduce the weight of this door. You can try again. Chapter 56:30. What could he do? He couldn't possibly watch as a portion of them used the wall-passing talisman to slip away first, right? In that case, how unfair would it be to the remaining portion of people? Thinking of this, Tian Dao couldn't help but shed a tear of sympathy for himself. He could only blame Arbor and the rest for coming to the sacred palace to join in the fun, making things so difficult for him. Lord Jojo passed through the palace door, and after 3 times in a row, Tian Dao couldn't take it anymore and roared, "What are you doing? Are you showing off that you can enter and exit the sacred palace freely? Bah! There's a huge pit behind." Arbor glanced at Tian Dao expressionlessly. Are you trying to trick people? Digging a huge pit behind the palace door, are you trying to make people jump in? What lousy palace, there was nothing inside, just a huge sinkhole with a vast expanse of white on both sides. Tian Dao chuckled at Lord Jojo. If you're blind, don't say that I'm tricking you. Mo Lien glanced at Tian Dao, and the latter's entire body quivered, and he roared at Mo Lien, what are you trying to do? Stinking brat, could it be that you want to make a move on Tian Dao? Wait. He went to take a look himself. Not even a second later, Tian Dao flashed back with a puzzled expression and said to Arbor, impossible. Entering the palace was indeed a huge sinkhole. What was going on? He didn't remember setting up such a huge pit. Take a closer look. Arbor glanced at him indifferently. Behind your sinkhole, there's a vast expanse of white fog. Don't trick people in, there might be nothing. Still looking for treasures? I reckon you don't even know what's going on inside. Arbor glanced at him mockingly. Isn't that right? Tian Dao. Just you wait. The old man angrily waved his sleeve. The tightly shut palace door immediately opened from the inside with a creaking sound, revealing a vast expanse of fog inside. Everyone took a closer look, and there was indeed a huge sinkhole at the door, wide and bottomless. The Western Master was overjoyed. In the past, everyone had to work together to open the palace door. Unexpectedly, it was so smooth this year. The Heavenly Tao opened it for them on its own. Let me go down and take a look. The Western Master chuckled and wanted to dodge into the door. Unexpectedly, the Heavenly Tao jumped down from the sky and kicked him out. You want to fish in troubled waters? No way. Wait until this old man has a clear look, then I will close the door for you. Heavenly Tao snorted and walked to the side of the sinkhole with his claws behind his back. He slowly moved and stared at the abyss below the sinkhole thoughtfully. Kid, what do you think is going on? I remember that this time last year, there wasn't a sinkhole. This is really strange. The old man lowered his head and looked at the sinkhole, studying it carefully. In the blink of an eye, he was kicked in the back. Caught off guard, the old man cried out in alarm and fell straight into the sinkhole. Lord Jojo raised his hand expressionlessly, and a defensive barrier appeared on the sinkhole. Immediately after, under everyone's gaze, this fellow completely sealed the sinkhole with a series of strange operations. Water, fire, earth, and spiritual power. Everyone was stunned and stared at the girl in front of them as if they were petrified. Lord Jojo clapped his hands and threw out hundreds of binding talismans expressionlessly. He threw them directly above the sinkhole, forming a powerful vortex binding array. Chapter 56-31. At the same time, Mo Lien, Duan Yu, and the Venerable Peach Blossom Divinities group, who had a tacit understanding of each other, also ran up and directly piled up several layers of partition above the sinkhole, truly sealing the heavenly law inside the sinkhole. Keep. Sir Jojo took out the heart of misfortune and scooped up the sinkhole under everyone's stupefied gazes. Then, he sealed it in the realm of misfortune. Only then did everyone realize that this wasn't some sinkhole. This was just something that looked like a sinkhole on the outside but was actually a camouflage talisman array. Sir Jojo did all this in one go without any hesitation. After the matter was settled, she turned around and waved at Feng Chongqing and the others. Let's go. Master Dongfang was completely stunned by her actions. The other three masters' jaws almost dropped from shock. Master Dongfang suddenly realized that the person in front of him was the real ruthless person. She was a bastard who could trap the Heavenly Tao without even blinking. What else in this world could suppress her? Arbor turned to look at Master Dongfang and said kindly, let's each find our own things and opportunities, understand? Everyone nodded like chicks pecking at rice. This ancestor, you don't have to point it out, okay? Everyone understood the reason. There definitely wouldn't be anyone who wasn't afraid of death and came to find trouble with you. After all, this person in front of them was a ruthless person who even the Heavenly Tao dared to capture alive. Everyone looked at Arbor with anticipation. Master Dongfang cowered in the back and didn't dare to show his head. Thinking of how he was beaten up by his son just now, he suddenly felt that the world was very beautiful. Oh God, he had just come back from the gates of hell and suddenly realized that his series of actions just now was actually him constantly courting death, right? Fortunately, these ruthless people didn't stoop to his level. Fortunately. Master Dongfang nudged Master Dongfang, who was standing in front of him. Tell us. Master Dongfang shuddered. She also saw clearly just now that this young madam joined forces with a group of people to trap the Heavenly Dao without any explanation now. The Heavenly Dao was sealed in a dark and swarthy ball by her. What kind of ball was this? It didn't look like an ordinary object. What could something that could store the Heavenly Dao and not come out for the time being be? She, the Master of the South, could not go against such a character, and she did not want to. The Western Master pushed her from behind, and she kicked him fiercely. She smiled awkwardly at Jojo, who was looking at her from the side. Arbor turned around and led his team away. Everywhere she passed, the flourishing green grass and green land was like a painting that was being pushed open, gently unfolding in front of her eyes. It was only then that the Western Master and his men realized in horror. Just now, Madame Mo had used other illusions to turn the surroundings into a white fog. There was a fake Heavenly Pit talisman array in the middle. It was waiting here to trick the Heavenly Dao. Fuck, this guy is really a ferocious guy. No one dared to speak any more nonsense. They hurriedly dispersed, pulling their own teams and jogging away. Arbor tossed the Heart of Misfortune in his hand and muttered to himself, "How long do you think we can hold him for?" 4 hours. Duan Yu muttered. What if I summon my master and Aunt Master out now? Everyone, Jojo, the Heavenly Dao will probably cry if you trick it like this. Chapter 56-32. Baby Mo grinned and clapped his little hands. Good, good. Find Marshal Granduncle and Grand Master. Xiao Tuanzi wants to bring them out to play. Venerable Peach Blossom blinked and said, I think we should let Tiandao off. Feng Zhangqing nodded. I think so too. In their opinion, Grandpa Tiandao was really miserable. He offended this pair of mother and son just like that and even had his face covered in blood. Anyway, our goal is to not let Tiandao cause trouble. Now that we've reached our goal, let's set off first. Everyone nodded in unison. Master Dongfang recovered from his stupefied state and silently followed behind the group. This master was someone who even dared to cheat Tiandao. Was there anything she didn't dare to do? At this time, Grandpa Tiandao was so angry that he was stomping his feet and cursing in the sinkhole. He didn't expect that after tricking people all day long, he would be tricked by this little fellow to the point of vomiting blood. Was there anything more embarrassing than this? At this moment, the old man realized that there were several layers of binding talisman arrays around him. If he wanted to get out, he had to break these talisman arrays first. You little bastard. Grandpa Tiandao cursed angrily. When I get out, let's see how I'll deal with you little bastard. While this little bastard's martial parents and martial uncle couldn't rush over, he would catch her and beat her to death first. The old man is scolding me right now. Arbor pursed his lips and snorted. Jojo, did you hear that? No. Master Jojo fiddled with the vine in his hand. I'm not going to listen to his nonsense. Arbor ran 2 steps forward and pointed ahead. 9 Palace Illusion Talisman Array. Tiandao was set up here. This was another trap. Unfortunately, Lady Xiqiao was able to recognize what sort of spirit formation it was with a single glance. Everyone couldn't help but chuckle. Master Dongfang took a few steps forward and looked around. Madame Mo, is there a way to break this talisman array? It won't be fun if it's broken. Arbor said seriously. The so-called dangerous place must have opportunities. There must be a lot of good stuff in this 9 Palaces illusion glyph formation. Baby Mo moved closer to his father's ear and muttered with a chuckle, Mother can't break the array. Mo Lien held back her laughter and nodded gently. After all, the Heavenly Dao was not to be trifled with. The reason why he was subdued by the little fellow earlier was because he was not wary of her at all. Moreover, who would have known that the moment Jojo used the wall-passing talisman to enter the palace, he immediately created a sinkhole at the entrance. No one could keep up with Jojo's weird train of thought. Arbor walked to the front of the illusion rune array, drew and reveal rune in midair, and swept it out. The tranquil air before his eyes trembled for a while, and hundreds of talismans with a leisurely purple light suddenly appeared in midair. They flashed for an instant, and then disappeared in an instant. "Let's go." Sir Jojo waved his small hand and instructed everyone to quickly enter the array. The scenery before their eyes suddenly changed from spring and summer to midwinter. In front of them was a natural moat with high mountains and dangerous obstacles. The north wind whistled. Arbor was expressionless. He had already taken out a large fur coat from his inner world and wrapped himself in it. Looking back at everyone's thin spring clothes, he revealed an expression as if he was looking at an idiot, and silently turned his head back. "Daddy, little dumpling isn't cold." Baby Mo, who was wrapped in the fur coat by Mo Lien, was like a small round ball, protesting in his arms. Chapter 56-33. "Your mother thinks you're cold," Mo Lien said expressionlessly. The little dumpling glanced at his stoic mother and saw that she was looking at them. Mo Bao Bao immediately adjusted his facial expression and shot a pair of bright eyes towards his mother, giving her an extremely adorable smile. The little stoic instantly felt that her son was incomparably adorable. She pattered over and expressionlessly reached out to take the child from her husband's arms. "Wife, the snow here is slippery. It's not easy to walk with this guy in your arms." Mo Lien pulled his wife to his side in passing and said with a grin, "It's better for your husband to carry him." Sir Jojo winked at the father and son pair. "Did you notice that there's a gravitational force binding this place?" Right. I noticed it long ago. As soon as I was transported here, I felt my body become heavy and I couldn't even lift my feet." Wuji Dao indignantly lashed out at his leg, but he couldn't move at all. On the side, little Tai Sui swept him a disdainful glance like he was looking at an idiot. He raised his hand and chopped off the withered vines coiled around his leg with a crack. "That's because you idiots stepped on a demonic plant and got bound by it." Wuji Dao wordlessly lifted his leg. Sure enough, he could move freely now. The gravitational force is really strong. Can we still fly like this? As soon as he finished speaking, he saw Sir Jojo hanging in midair expressionlessly. "Everyone, Wuji Dao, don't speak. You'll be slapped in the face as soon as you speak. Don't you feel any pain?" "Mother." Baby Mo hastily floated up and flew in front of his mother, swinging his small arms and legs. "Mother, look. I also ate a flight pill." He really was a smart child. She didn't need to worry about him at all. Sir Jojo rubbed his son's small head and looked down at Wuji Dao's group. "The formation core is probably up there. Fly up and take a look. This kind of saint-level flight pill can allow you to fly for 24 hours normally. But in this kind of high-gravity area, I'm afraid it can't last more than 2 hours. Look at how many flight pills you have left. There must be a camouflage here. From the looks of it, that mountain doesn't seem too far away. I estimate that it will take us 1 to 4 hours to fly there." Everyone checked the flight pills around them one by one, which ranged from 1 to dozens. Duan Yut silently glanced at everyone. 1 bottle. Divine Peach Blossom and the others all glared at him. "How much is 1 bottle? Don't tell me there are 100 pills in 1 bottle. Why do you have so many? You're eating them like candy, aren't you?" Duan Yu looked at everyone innocently. "Jojo's lotus gave it to me." Mo Lien, Jojo immediately turned to look at her husband. Mo Lien said expressionlessly, "He snatched it in broad daylight." Venerable Peach Blossom turned around and stood in front of the two of them. She bit on her handkerchief and said angrily, I want it too, I want it too. You two favor one and discriminate against the other, you bastards. Jojo silently looked at Mo Lien and took a step back. Baby Mo followed behind his mother's head and also flew back several steps. Mo Lien couldn't resist facepalming and threw a bottle at him. Scram, scram, scram. Scram further away. Didn't he see his wife's gaze? Master Dongfang meekly raised his hand and stammered, Madam Mo, I don't have a single pill. Sir Jojo was expressionless. He swept a glance at the noisy children and harumphed. Give everyone 3 pills. Save them. Chapter 56-34. She didn't have much either. This flying pill was made from the rainbow mushroom. It was very difficult for the rainbow mushroom to grow. In her star domain, it grew very slowly due to the flow of time. Everyone rushed forward and shouted, those who have a bottle in their hands, don't give it out. That's right. It's a waste to give it out. Shut up. Sir Jojo shouted. After giving out the flying pills, he pointed at Dao Wuji. You. Lead the way. Ma Ta laughed and flew forward. I know. We need someone to lead the way. Sometimes in a row, sometimes in a column. Lu Yu also laughed. No one can lead the way better than instructor Zhou Danjin. The expressionless Sir Jojo tried his best to keep a straight face. He turned around and laughed. Thinking of how he tricked instructor Zhou back then, he felt that her group of friends were simply too much. Dao Wuji didn't understand the reason and flew forward with a puzzled expression. What's wrong? Then I'll start flying. You all follow. Don't leave me alone. If some giant beast jumps out, do you think I should fight or not? Okay, stop talking nonsense. Hurry up. Little Tai Sui urged and rolled his eyes at him. The Peony Fairy couldn't help but giggle. Brother Dao, you have to be careful. Don't wake up any monsters on this mountain. When the time comes, you'll have to be the vanguard. As soon as she said this, everyone faintly heard a deafening roar coming from the top of the mountain. The group of people looked at each other in dismay. Don't jinx it. Everyone glared at the Peony Fairy and said in annoyance. The Peony Fairy didn't expect her lousy mouth to be so effective. She was stunned for a moment and quickly said, let's go and take a look. So what if there were sacred beasts hibernating on the mountain? They had so many people. At most, they couldn't beat them. If they couldn't beat them, they could just run. Everyone leaped up at the same time and followed Dao Wuji, who was leading the way, to the top of the mountain. Sure enough, Jojo was right. Looking at the extremely short mountain peak, after flying for more than 2 hours, they still didn't get any closer. We're almost there. Mo Lien held his wife's little hand and let the little one, baby Mo, float behind them. Feng Zhangqing and the others wanted to carry baby Mo several times, but the little guy waved his hand and refused. Feifei is healthier and more fun. Quick, look. Isn't there a reinforced barrier on the mountain peak? Dao Wuji pointed ahead and asked. In the blink of an eye, a stream of light flew past him from behind. Boom! A loud sound rang out. The 2 Saint Power Pearls hit the front of the barrier with great precision, immediately tearing a gap in the oval-shaped barrier. Let's go. The little stoic pulled her husband and burrowed into that crack with a whoosh like 2 rays of light. Baby Mo also scurried over. Duan Yu, little Tai Sui, and the others also quickly followed. Everlasting Blade came back to his senses and couldn't help but curse. He quickly put away his dazed expression and called out, Hey, wait for me. This bunch of bastards didn't even tell him that they were speeding up. When Master Dongfang flew into that barrier with a whoosh, he turned around and saw that the open crack was barely closing. At this time, everyone was enveloped in an oval barrier. When he turned around, he was met with a pair of large eyes emitting orange light. Dao Wuji shouted, "Prepare for battle," and raised his hands defensively in front of his chest. Chapter 56-35. The giant beast in front of them was several feet tall, and its eyes were like a pair of deep holes. It stared at everyone, its gaze sweeping over them aggressively. The peony fairy, who was standing in the front row, silently took 2 steps back. However, a hand suddenly pressed against her back. "There's no place for you to retreat, sister." The peony fairy turned around and glared at Dao Wuji. That guy turned around and slammed the barrier behind him, shouting, "Pull back. Pull back your sister." Ginkgo Fairy angrily slapped the back of his head twice. "All right, stop fooling around, let's go together." Feng Zhangqing took out a sword from his conscience and flew up with his younger brother Feng Zhangfei. In front of the giant beast, the two of them were as small as shooting stars, gliding over with a whoosh. "Don't you think that this beast looks like a bear?" While speaking, the bear beast had already stretched out its thick palm and slapped towards the Feng brothers. The 2 brothers quickly slipped in front of the bear beast and nimbly flipped behind it. The 2 long swords stabbed at its back. Roar! The bear beast's body trembled and let out a roar. Its red eyes were unusually irritable as it shook its head. Baby Amo opened his small mouth and exclaimed, "What a big bear! Guang Guang, look, look, this is the biggest bear I've ever seen in my life." When everyone heard his words, they really couldn't help but want to ridicule him. "Baby, you've only grown up for 5 years. There's still a long way to go in this life. Who knows what kind of super giant beast you'll encounter in a few years. Guang Guang, quick, release little wonton. I think this big bear should be to his liking." While speaking, a giant beast with 6 legs and 4 wings, as red as fire, flew out of the light-congealing mirror with a whoosh. Baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, it immediately rushed towards the bear beast opposite it and pounced over with a roar. Bang! Bang! With a few loud tremors, the bear beast was knocked back by Hundan's attack. Its big orange eyes were shining with fear and panic at this time. Hundan, on the other hand, was very happy. It had finally been released, and now there was a delicacy in front of it. The beast felt that its life was very complete. The bear beast was obviously no match for Hundan. After being teased by Hundan's claws, there were a few more bloody wounds on its body. Lord Guangguang's loud voice rang in Hundan's ears. "Eat if you want, don't make it so ugly and disgusting. Xiao Tuanzi is still here. Don't scare him." Hundan let out a roar and took a deep breath. The bear beast retreated in horror, but it couldn't resist the air current that was rushing towards it. He was forced to get closer and closer to chaos. Its eyes were wide open, trying its best to prevent itself from approaching the source of danger. However, the air current sucked up by chaos was abnormally turbulent, like a whale sucking in water, making it unable to resist. The bear beast was getting closer and closer to chaos. Everyone could not help but look up with narrowed eyes. A gust of wind blew, and everyone raised their hands to block in front of their eyes. Following that, an extremely strong gust of wind whirled past, and the bear beast was sucked into Hundan's suddenly opened mouth. Feng Zhangqing and the others couldn't help but feel their eyelids twitch slightly. This was the scene of Hundan swallowing the sacred beast at such a close distance. It was really a little shocking to watch. Oh whoa! After Hundan swallowed the bear beast, it fell down due to exhaustion. It rolled on the ground twice. Chapter 56-36. This fellow's belly was bulging, and he looked like he had indigestion. He kicked his legs back and forth on the ground, looking pitifully in Arbor's direction. Arbor couldn't resist rolling his eyes. That's what you get for being greedy. She stuffed him with a bottle of medicinal liquid and then expressionlessly had the condensing mirror recall Hun done. This fellow would probably stop eating for a while after swallowing a sacred beast. He wouldn't be able to digest it for at least 5 days. Baby Mo glanced at Hun Dun pitifully and sighed sadly. So miserable. He actually ate until he's full. Everyone was speechless and really wanted to roar at this brat. Wasn't it you who caused this? If you didn't let Hun Dun out, would things have ended up like this? But forget it, this brat didn't screw them over this time. Instead, he screwed over that sacred beast, which could be considered as helping them. After this sacred beast was dealt with, the barrier automatically disappeared. A patch of yellowish-brown vines appeared in front of them, and there were a few small dark blue flowers blooming in the center. It looked quite pretty. The little stoic wordlessly took out a storage talisman. With a wave of her sleeve, she stored large patches of vines into the storage talisman. Everyone ran up excitedly and surrounded Jojo, asking, "Jojo, what's this good stuff?" "Man-eating vines, right?" Venerable Peach Blossom Divinity asked with bright eyes, "Should we also take some?" Sir Jojo nodded expressionlessly. Everyone frantically harvested the vines on this mountain and threw those small blue flowers to the side. After Sir Jojo finished collecting large patches of yellowish-brown vines, he went up and took the small blue flowers that everyone threw out. Several large bouquets of small blue flowers bloomed in Sir Jojo's hands, complementing his snow-white face and making his skin of ice and bones of jade look extremely beautiful. Everyone immediately surrounded him again and asked one after another, "Jojo, what flower is this? Is it useful?" "It's useless, right?" Arbor swept them a glance. Seeing that Master Dongfang also ran to collect those blue flowers, she said, "I think it looks quite pretty, so I plan to use it for flower arrangement." Everyone couldn't help but be speechless. "Then what about the yellow vines? What's it for?" "It's useless." Arbor looked at them expressionlessly. "I'm used to it." Pfft, Divine Peach Blossom couldn't help but burst into laughter. Everyone simultaneously looked at him before crowding around Mo Lien and talking at once. "Chow Chow's Lien, what does Chow Chow mean by this?" Little Tai Sui rolled its eyes with a cold expression. "Idiot." What she meant was that she liked to collect all these random things. It's her habit. Duan Yu turned his head with a smile and happened to catch sight of Master Dongfang awkwardly clutching a handful of blue flowers. Dongfang Yuzhu glanced at the bouquet in his hand. It looked a little he didn't know if he should throw it away or not. In the end, it turned out that he had picked up a bunch of useless things. Everyone was stunned. Mo Lien coughed softly, trying not to laugh, and said in a low voice, "My wife has been collecting all kinds of supplies since she was 7 years old. He likes to pick up everything." Everyone glared at him. She turned around and saw Baby Mo's small body squatting there, trying to dig something on the ground. Venerable Peach Blossom couldn't resist facepalming. "Child, what are you doing? Could it be that this child was digging soil? You're much stingier than your mom. Your stoic mother is only picking up some useless vines and flowers, but you freaking dig soil. Is this how your family of 3 behaves?" Mo Lien was rendered speechless by everyone's glares. Chapter 56-37. He didn't know why, but every time it was his wife and son's fault, everyone liked to glare at him. When they were too agitated, they would even chase after him to beat him up. Sometimes, Mo Lien would feel that he was especially wronged. Just like right now, his son wanted to dig dirt. What did it have to do with him? Why were these people all staring at him with those weird little eyes? It was very baffling. Baby Mo dug up a few big bags of dirt, tidying them up and hiding them in his storage talisman. He turned his head to take a look. Seeing that the group of uncles were all standing behind him, looking at him somewhat speechlessly, he put his storage talisman into his storage talisman. He looked at everyone with vigilant eyes and waved his little hand. If you guys want it, you have to dig it up yourselves. I don't have it. The corner of Ji Chen's mouth twitched fiercely. He turned to look at Jojo. Jojo, I think that little dumpling has already. Seeing Lord Jojo's chilly gaze, Ji Chen coughed lightly and continued, he has completely learned Lotus stinginess. You're very right. Lord Jojo nodded vigorously and sighed with emotion. This temperament is really too much like his father's. Sigh. Mo Lien, baby Mo blinked his eyes and bounced to his mother's side. Mother, do you think this 9-palace illusion talisman array will also trap other people in? Jojo nodded. Definitely. Then why haven't we met anyone else until now? Maybe the talisman array is too big. Arbor said unconcernedly. Wrong. Baby Mo shook his finger calmly and mysteriously leaned close to his mother. I think it should be this 9-palace illusion talisman array that has separated all of us. But maybe if you look from above, you can see that all of the people who came in are now going around in circles in this big array. But all of them are onlookers who can't see clearly. They definitely won't be able to see anyone else. For example, if I threw a punch. Baby Mo threw a punch forcefully and calmly withdrew his little fist. You guys might think that I only hit air, but in reality, I might have already hit someone else. As soon as he finished speaking, the air in front of him moved slightly, and a wailing figure fell to the ground with a plop. Everyone hurriedly moved 2 steps away and gathered together, staring at the guy who had suddenly appeared with vigilance. That fellow was punched in the left eye by Baby Mo. At this time, he was lying on the ground with a big panda eye, wailing and groaning. Aren't you that guy from the western regions? Dongfang Yuju's mouth twitched. He clearly felt that the person in front of him was somewhat familiar. Dao Wuji revealed a comical smile. I suddenly feel that what this 5-year-old child said makes a lot of sense. Everyone was speechless. Why do I feel like my IQ is being crushed? Even a little kid could see the problem so clearly. Blame them for being stupid and not being able to understand the profoundness of this illusion glyph array. Dun Zong went up and kicked. Sure enough, a figure was kicked out. Everyone did the same thing, punching and kicking the air. Many people cried out in surprise as they came out from beside them. Their faces were filled with confusion. What's going on? Didn't they part ways just now? Why did they return to Madame Mo's group in such a short time? Don't panic. Sir Jojo asked himself and gave them a very friendly smile. However, this group of people didn't appreciate it. Their bodies trembled even more violently than before. Chapter 56-38. Master, this is good, this body is good. Dun Zhen ran forward excitedly and reached out to touch a young man's body. The man's face turned green, and he glared at the perverted man who touched him. What are you doing? Master, what do you think of the body I picked? Dun Zhen grabbed the young man and turned to Arbor with a flattering smile. He had the wretched face of Shuntian Prefecture's prefecture master, Gung Pengcheng, and when he smiled, he revealed a mouthful of yellow teeth. The unlucky man who was grabbed by him had fear in his eyes. His body trembled involuntarily, and he screamed, "What are you doing? What are you trying to do? Let go of me." Master, Dunju blinked before turning to say to Qiao Mu, "Master, I think this body is pretty good. It meets my standards." Arbor glanced at him and said slowly, I remember you weren't so picky in the past. When you were in Shantian Prefecture, you didn't even care about Jing Minyao's body. Why did your requirements suddenly become higher here? You're so picky. If you're not satisfied with this, then don't want it. When I gave you that woman's body the day before yesterday, you were still wailing and howling and refusing. Dun Zhen's face froze. He grabbed the young man in his hand and poked his head with his finger. No, no, master, you can't cheat me. This body is good, change it for me. Arbor glanced at him. Dream on. Master, I said I would give you a better body, but the premise is that it's not possession. This person's life is not over yet, don't mess around. Arbor raised his chin and scolded impatiently. Leave. Tunji pursed his lips and moved back in small steps, muttering something under his breath. The young man heaved a sigh of relief and got up. He cupped his hands and thanked Arbor. Thank you, Madam M.O., thank you, Madam M.O. This Madam M.O. looked like she even dared to cheat the heavenly Tao, but in fact she should be a reasonable person. If fate brought us together, we'll meet even if we're thousands of miles apart. Since we're so fated, why don't we go together? Madam M.O. nodded at them. The group of people from the sanctuary who had been beaten out of the formation pitifully shrank towards the center, almost sticking to each other. No matter how they looked at Madam M.O. now, they felt that she was a little scary. Not only did the people from the sanctuary find Jojo strange, even Hu Jinchin and the others couldn't help but sneak a glance at Jojo. He felt that Jojo was very strange. Jojo never liked to meddle in other people's business. Why would he take the initiative to invite someone to go with him today? This is really strange. A middle-aged man with a big belly couldn't help but ask boldly, Madam M.O., do you have any instructions? If it's something we can do, we'll do our best. As soon as this person finished speaking, the others responded, yes, 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 yes. Their expressions were exceptionally serious. It was as if they didn't respond, they would be beaten up by Master Jojo in the next second. Their attitudes were especially sincere. There is indeed something I need everyone's help with. Arbor turned and pointed straight ahead. Do you see the barrier? I hope that everyone can work together to overcome this difficulty. That's no problem. Yes, 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 yes. That's what we should do. Chapter 5639. May I ask, Madam Mo, how do you want us to work together? After the 9 Palace Illusionary Array is activated, 9 array cores will appear and create 9 different barriers. Sir Jojo looked amiable. And every time we destroy a formation core, a barrier will appear. Xiao Mu pointed ahead. Thus, we will need everyone to work together to destroy it. Go! Everyone, work together. Only by breaking this barrier can we enter the next array core. Realization dawned on everyone's faces, and they quickly nodded. Okay. Let's go together. The group of Saint Domain men rushed to the front and smashed the barrier with their fists. After a while, the big-bellied man turned to look, and his mouth couldn't help but twitch. He saw that Madame Mo and her friends were all standing at the side and didn't come forward to help. Instead, they stood a distance away and watched them smashing the barrier enthusiastically. Panting, this fellow asked, Madame Mo, why aren't you guys working together? Sir Jojo shook his head expressionlessly. I need to reevaluate. There are so many of you, and you spent nearly 10 minutes, but you couldn't even break through a crack in the barrier. I suspect that you guys can't do it at all. Mo Lien, Duan Yu, and the others, the group of men who were trying to break through the barrier all flushed with embarrassment. If you can't break through this barrier in 5 minutes, the array core will be destroyed. The array core will probably be repaired. What do you mean? Everyone was stunned and quickly asked. It's the sacred beast that we killed just now. It might come back to life. Master Dongfang. Fuck, how could they play like this? The big-bellied middle-aged man and his group didn't waste any more words with Arbor. They quickly turned around and smashed the barrier with all their might. It's open, it's open. It's open. Someone shouted excitedly. Madame Mo's screams were heard. Everyone, get out of the way. Get down. Boom. She flicked a sacred energy bead at the barrier, and it directly blasted the hole in the barrier half the height of a person. Holding his wifey's hand, Mo Lien took the lead and flashed past, ducking out of the hole with a bend. Baby Mo hugged Duan Yu's thigh and called out childishly, "Godfather, Godfather." Duan Yu picked him up and also dashed out of the hole with the little fellow. When Divine Peach Blossom's group filed out, they felt a gust of wind and sand assault their faces, and they reflexively covered their faces with their sleeves. The big-bellied middle-aged man and his group fell to the ground in time when the Saint Power Orb exploded. At this moment, all of them raised their heads. Their faces were covered in dirt, and they couldn't help but pat their clothes. Xiao Mu stated coldly, "If you still don't come out, this barrier will close up again." Everyone took a closer look. Sure enough, the hole that was originally half a person's height had shrunk to 2/3 of its original size. The group scrambled out and ate a mouthful of sand as they were caught off guard. When they looked up, they saw a large wave of rolling sand in the sky. The yellow sand was so pervasive that they couldn't see the path ahead. The people from the holy region were about to cry. What was this situation again? Some people who had come to the holy palace before couldn't help but mutter inwardly. It wasn't like they hadn't come to this holy land of adventure before. Why did it feel like it was much more difficult than all the previous experiences? Cough, 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 cough. The big-bellied man coughed repeatedly while sprawled on the ground. Madame Mo. Chapter 5640. Why? Cough, cough, cough. The Holy Power Pearl, the big-bellied man was exhausted after a round of fierce attacks on the barrier. His voice was weak. The Holy Power Pearl. You had the Holy Power Pearl, but you didn't use it before and only used it after they tore the barrier apart. Aren't you cheating us? Xiao Mu swept them an indifferent glance before giving a rare explanation. If you don't tear a hole in the barrier, you absolutely won't be able to use the sacred energy bead to enlarge its damage area. After all, there had to be an opening to completely tear it apart. It wasn't that Sir Jojo wanted to cheat them. The group of people from the sanctuary lay on the ground and couldn't help but roll their eyes. They said they would work together, but in fact, they were the ones who worked hard. The so-called hand-in-hand meant that you lost a Saint Power Orb after the incident and picked it up effortlessly. Arbor asked gently, "Do you have any objections?" The group shook their heads and said in unison, "No objections, no objections." It was not as if they had lost their minds. Why would they dare to have any opinions about her? Even if they were dissatisfied, they didn't dare to show it. It's great that you have no objections. Arbor nodded and said to them, "There are still 8 more barriers, and we need to work hard together." She stretched out her little fist and encouraged the group of people from the sanctuary. Feng Zhangfei couldn't hold it in and burst out laughing, hurriedly turning his face away. Arbor was expressionless and stretched out her little fist again. Work hard. Yes, work hard. The people from the sanctuary twitched their mouths and forced a bitter smile. The big-bellied man stood up and wiped his forehead with sweat. He stammered, "I don't know if it's just my imagination, but I feel that the Sacred Palace trial this time is a little difficult. It's more than a little difficult." Another person couldn't help but complain. If the previous trial was a level 3 difficulty, this time it's definitely a level 10 difficulty. If Dark Phoenix and Against the Sky were here, they would definitely pat their little disciple's head and tell her with a smile, "Disciple, you're lucky that the Heavenly Axiom gave you a Hell mode trial. Others used to be in the easy mode, but you directly skipped the normal and elite modes and went straight to the Hell mode." Sir Jojo tilted his head and looked at the people from the sanctuary. "Is what you said true? What was the situation like in the past? Tell me about it if you know." Madame M.O., a young lady said. "You really don't know. In the past, training in the Sacred Palace was definitely not that difficult. We don't need to go through the 9 palaces illusion formation at all. After everyone came in, the most they would do was fight and snatch things. I've never experienced such a simulated training environment where we have to travel across mountains and rivers, and wind and sand billow. It was too difficult for them. Or could it be that the previous experience mode was actually too simplistic?" Sir Jojo's mouth twitched unhappily and he said to everyone expressionlessly, "Wait for me." She took out a golden summoning talisman and flicked it with her finger, calling out, "Master, Uncle Master, anyone, come quickly." In the blink of an eye, a condensed shadow appeared above the sand-filled sky. It gradually formed into a human figure. With a swoosh, a beautiful woman in red clothes suddenly appeared in front of everyone. Sir Jojo threw himself into the arms of the woman in red. "Uncle Master, help me." Chapter 56-41. Chi Nidian blinked and looked around before patting his little martial nephew's head. "Where's Heavenly Law? Where's that Heavenly Law fellow?" Heavenly Law, that shameless old thing, was bullying his martial nephew again. That fellow was simply tired of living. "You, brat, come here." Nidian hooked his finger at Duanyu, who was standing at the side. The latter's mouth twitched, and he took small steps forward and bowed respectfully. "Greetings to Uncle Master Chin." "Emichim, good boy." Chi Nidian nodded his head solemnly. He stretched out his 2 arms and suddenly snatched baby Mo away. The 2 of them looked at each other, grinning so widely that one could see their teeth. "Uncle Master." My good grandson, you've grown quite a bit after not seeing you for so long. Hurry and let Uncle Master take a look, hee. Where's that old fart Heavenly Law? Is he making things difficult for you too? Don't panic, Uncle Master will beat him up for you. That shameless old fellow, he's already so old, but he's still bullying a child. Simply shameless. Everyone almost didn't look at her. This woman in red looked to be in her early 20s, but no one knew her actual age. But since Madame M.O. called her Uncle Master, then she was definitely a 1,000-year-old demon. This Madame M.O. herself didn't look old, but who knew? With such a high cultivation base, he might even be 100 years old. Nowadays, old seniors all liked to pretend to be young, so who knew their true age? Chi Nidian, the 1,000-year-old monster, surveyed the surroundings. Who are these people? Why did they all look so repulsive? He glanced at the group of young people behind his martial nephew. Emichim, these were more pleasing to the eye. Uncle Master, these are our friends from the Holy Region. The little stoic introduced them and then tugged at Chi Nidian's sleeve. Uncle Master, you have to help me. Heavenly Law, that old thing, is up to mischief again. In the past, this Holy Palace trial was only level 3 difficulty. Now that I'm here, Heavenly Law purposely activated level 10 difficulty trial mode to block me. Then isn't it activating Hell mode? Against the Sky understood immediately. He blinked his eyes and hugged the baby with one hand, his face full of anger. Speak, child. Where is that old ghost now? She had just used her spiritual power to scan the area, but there was no heavenly Tao nearby. She must have tricked her martial nephew and then dug a hole to hide herself. Martial uncle, I trapped that old guy in the binding talisman formation and threw him into the realm of misfortune. Qi Nitian's mouth twitched. In that case, this old fellow had already been tricked by his martial nephew. But I can only trap him for 4 hours. Previously, in order to destroy the first barrier of the 9 Palaces illusion glyph array, I already spent a lot of time. I'm worried that after this old ghost comes out, he will definitely continue to cause trouble. It's increasing the difficulty of my training. Qi Nidian nodded. All right, then send senior uncle in. Martial uncle went to look for him to have a chat him up. I will definitely convince him on your behalf, and let him happily for mercy to reduce the difficulty of the experiential learning. Okay. Arbor nodded cheerfully, revealing a rare grin. Then senior uncle, I will send you over now. Everyone present stood there in absolute silence. They looked at each other and silently shut their mouths. Chapter 56-42. Their instincts told them that it was best not to speak at this time. They felt that this Madame Mo must have done something strange to the heavenly law. If they dared to nag, they would definitely be scolded. Madame Mo, young Master Mo, what should we do now? Continue forward. Dao Wuji waved his hand. Didn't you hear Jojo? There are still 8 barriers ahead. We must do our best and work together. The people of the Holy Domain had the urge to cry. They really wanted to ask if they could split up. However, the little stoic waved her hand, and Feng Zhangfei and his buddies padded around again. Sure enough, several figures popped out from the distorted space. Everyone, work hard. Dao Wuji grinned at everyone. Don't panic. As long as we break the 8 barriers, we can leave the array. The people of the Holy Domain already had no energy to complain. So be it, fight to the best of your ability. After Arbor sent Uncle Master to the realm of misfortune, he didn't say a word to the people of the Holy Domain. Let's go. Little Tai Sui expressionlessly turned around and walked forward. The people of the Holy Domain hurriedly took out long towels from their inner worlds and wrapped their heads up. They looked up and saw that young Master Mo's bony hand holding a small bamboo umbrella. His other hand held Madame Mo's hand and walked very leisurely at the front of the group. The rolling sand couldn't do anything to the two of them. The flying sand and pebbles were all blocked by the umbrella. The people of the Holy Domain couldn't help but cry. In order to not waste sacred power to open a defensive barrier to block the wind and sand, they could only wrap themselves up with long towels, leaving only their eyes exposed. Now that they saw young Master Mo and his wife strolling in a peach garden, they instantly felt extremely sullen. There was no harm without comparison. Compared to them, they were really full of wounds. They couldn't afford to be hurt. Everyone sighed and lowered their heads, as if they were at a funeral. They followed at the back of the group and dragged their heavy steps forward. Arbor glanced back and shouted in a clear voice, "Follow the group." Aoyi and his group immediately added, not afraid of danger. If Arbor said, "Speed up," Aoyi and his group would definitely reply loudly, "Never give up." Everyone from the sanctuary couldn't help but twitch their eyebrows. Where did this amusing team come from? Why was their conversation so hilarious? Third young Master Fu could not help but sigh softly. Young Master Rong has trained her well. Back then, on that snowy island, the members of the Heavenly Fate Organization had trained day and night to kill the members of the Heavenly Fate Organization. Do you see that? There seems to be a lot of dining tables in front. Yes, yes. Someone shouted excitedly. Oh my God, I saw the roast duck. Sausages and roast chicken. Oh, am I dreaming? This time, Arbor did not need to tell them to speed up. The people of Sanctuary rolled and crawled forward, running crookedly in the wind and sand, with happy smiles on their faces. Arbor looked ahead blankly. Sand and dust billowed, but there was nothing left. "Hey, you guys." Arbor produced a vine whip from his sleeve, binding 4 or 5 saints. The others were stopped by Feng Chongqing and the others. Only one person crazily pushed away the little Taisui's hand, laughed loudly, and rushed forward like a madman. "Chicken, duck, fish. Oh, what a sumptuous dinner." That person rushed over with a happy face. Then, there was a scream. Chapter 56-43. In the blink of an eye, this person's figure was drowned in the sandstorm. Several people from the holy domain shook themselves awake and stammered, he fell in. He had indeed fallen in. Xiao Mu raised her eyebrows slightly, and she led the group forward a few steps before stopping. There was a circular pit in front of them that was bottomless. That unlucky guy just fell in with a splash and didn't seem to make a splash. The big-bellied man couldn't resist exclaiming, "How is that possible? That brother just now was a mid-stage spiritual venerable realm cultivator at the very least. How could he fall into this deep pit and not make a sound at all?" Everyone also found it very strange. That's right. How could that be possible? That wasn't some weak ordinary person or a low-level cultivator with an extremely low cultivation. If he fell into the pit, wouldn't he fly out on his own? Or would he directly fall to his death? That was simply the biggest joke in the world. Xiao Mu was pacing around the pit when she heard a cry of surprise from the crowd. One of the unlucky fellows was pushed by the people behind him and stumbled into the pit. The man let out a blood-curdling scream and fell down. It was so fast that everyone was stunned. In the blink of an eye, a vine shot out from Arbor's sleeve and abruptly wrapped around that person's ankle. Ah! Ah! That person struggled with all his might. Xiao Mu creased her brows slightly, and her feet shuffled forward half an inch. However, Mo Lien suddenly grasped her waist. A huge suction force caused the couple's expressions to change. Baby Mo flapped his tiny arms and legs and exclaimed while hanging in Duan Yu's arms, "Wow, this uncle got pulled down. He can't get up. So unlucky. How could there be such an unlucky thing?" Everyone, if this child didn't speak in such a gloating tone, it wouldn't be so hilarious. "Mother, little furball will help you." Baby Mo shouted, but before he could move, Duan Yu pressed his tiny body down. The latter said exasperatedly, all right, don't cause trouble for Mother." No, Mother can't hold on to Uncle anymore. Foster father, Xiao Tuanzi also has a vine that can help pull it. Everyone, come and help. Didn't you guys pack a lot of yellowish-brown vines before? Pull them all together. The more people there are, the more strength there is. Feng Zhangqing and the others were originally worried about how to drag him down. Could it be that she had to rush over and hug Mo Lien? Then, they had to carry and drag her one by one. How inappropriate. Now that he was reminded by Xiao Tuanzi, he was suddenly enlightened. They hurriedly took out a large chunk of yellowish-brown vines from their inner worlds and whooshed toward the unlucky Saint Domain bastard hanging at the entrance of the cave. Exerting their strength together, the man was immediately dragged out of the cave entrance. Everyone hurriedly retreated in all directions, allowing the man to be tied up and fall to the ground with a loud thud. The man panted heavily and immediately got up without even caring about the pain. He cupped his hands and thanked the people around him. Many thanks, many thanks. Many thanks to everyone for your help in the face of death. I am eternally grateful. This one is He Wei Ping. If there is a chance, I will definitely repay everyone's kindness. The big-bellied man wiped his sweat and waved his hand. Madame Mo and the rest still put in the most effort. But speaking of which, these vines are quite sturdy. They can actually pull someone out of the cave entrance with such a strong suction force. Arbor tugged hard at the yellowish-brown vines in his hands. Chapter 56-44. Indeed, after her son made such a fuss, she also reacted. At first, when she used the holy wood to grab He Wei Ping, even she was pulled forward by the suction force at the bottom of the hole. Afterwards, if it weren't for Mo Lien pressing her waist in time, she probably would have also involuntarily fallen into the bottomless pit along with that dragging force. He Wei Ping's body was wrapped by the yellow vines later, and the resistance gradually stopped. They were able to pull He Wei Ping out of the hole, but it wasn't entirely because they worked together. It was because of this yellow vine. Arbor looked down at the yellow vine in his hand. Suddenly, he kicked a stone and catapulted it over. The stone slid to the bottom of the hole with a whoosh, and the yellow vine in Arbor's hand suddenly wrapped around the stone. With a light shake of his wrist, he pulled it back from the ground. It seems that below is where the second barrier is. Arbor snorted softly. That old ghost heavenly axiom, one moment it made them go up the mountain, and the next moment it made them go down the hole. He didn't know if there was a mountain of knives and a sea of fire waiting for them behind. He summoned his martial uncle to talk about life with the old man, so it didn't seem to be a particularly bad thing. After all, he had been viciously cheated by heavenly axioms several times along the way, and it really didn't make sense if he didn't get back at it. Arbor snorted and lightly jumped on the spot. Everyone, take out all the yellow vines that you collected before. Arbor took out a large mass of vines from the storage talisman, combed them, connected them with the holy wood, and weaved them one by one into a rope. Everyone followed suit and helped to comb and weave the vines, their movements swift. Soon, the large mass of yellow vines was completely woven. I'm afraid we can only climb down from here, Arbor said with a serious face. I'm afraid that this bottomless hole has been blocked from all kinds of flying abilities. Probably even things like flying talismans couldn't be used. With heavenly axioms nature, it was very likely that this was the case. Xiaomu also couldn't be bothered to argue with heavenly law. Since she found a way to descend, then she would obediently climb the rope and descend. Otherwise, it would be very bad if she got pulled down halfway and became paralyzed from the fall. Will this thing work? Feng Zhangqing said weakly. Will it not be long enough? That's right. This bottomless pit looked bottomless. It really made people feel uneasy. Everyone looked at each other and looked at Madame Mo hesitantly. Don't worry. I won't cheat you, Madame Mo said to them. However, everyone present felt an inexplicable twitch in their hearts. When they heard this, they felt uneasy. It wasn't the first time Madame Mo had tricked someone. This young madam was someone who could even trick the heavenly Tao, let alone them. Not at all, not at all. You have to go down even if you're worried, Madame Mo said expressionlessly. Aren't you going down? If not, he would stay here. Don't blame me for not warning you. Although we've opened the first barrier of the 9 Palaces illusion formation once, it's still not enough. But you also know that it's closed now. Previously, we had to work together for half a day to open it. If we were left alone, the consequences would be self-evident. Everyone couldn't help but shudder. If they were left alone, would they have to break through the barrier alone? Damn, his balls hurt. Everyone hastened their movements, quickly inspecting the rope made of yellow vines. Chapter 56-45. Alright, I'll go first. Dao Wuji volunteered to hop over and tug at that yellow vine rope before turning back to chuckle mischievously at Arbor's group. This yellow vine rope was quite well woven and was very firm to the touch. Presumably, it wouldn't be difficult for him to descend to the underground cave. It was fine as long as he didn't cause any trouble along the way. As Dao Wuji thought this, his heroism got the better of him, and he patted his chest hard. I'm going now. Remember to tie the rope tightly. After saying that, he tied one end of the yellow vine around his waist and tugged at it twice. Seeing that there was no problem, he walked towards the entrance of the cave. Arbor tossed out 2 seeds, which instantly sprouted 2 large trees from the ground. Everyone couldn't help but gasp in amazement at how adept he was at it. After all, no one could use the power of the wood spirit so adeptly. The more they interacted with this Madame M.O., the more surprised they felt. Arbor tossed the yellow vine onto the tree trunk and circled it twice to stabilize it. Everyone then tugged at the other end of the yellow vine and carefully lowered Dao Wuji bit by bit in unison. How is it? Arbor asked. You're right. There's no longer that suction force. This yellow vine can effectively avoid that suction force, so it should be used to descend this underground cave. Seems like it's not a bad thing to like picking up trash, Sir Jojo muttered softly. Mo Lien naturally heard it immediately. She held back her urge to burst out laughing and nodded repeatedly. She reached out to stroke her wife's head. My Jojo is especially smart. You're one step ahead of others in everything you think of. Our dear baby Mo, who surpassed his master in picking up trash, lay in Duan Yu's arms and harumphed at his dad. Daddy was shameless and praised Mommy so smoothly. It was obvious that he was used to flattering her normally. His dad merely pretended not to hear his son's harumph and continued to hold his wife's hand with a grin. He glanced at everyone who was currently lowering the yellow vine and hanging Dao Wuji down the cave entrance. Dao Wuji yelled from time to time, faster. Fuck, be more steady, don't be so fast. Hey, we're almost at the bottom. His voice became more and more distant, as if it was coming through layers of mountain fog. In the end, it became somewhat unclear. Is the yellow vine rope enough? Feng Zhangqing asked with a frown. Enough, it should be enough. There are still a few laps that haven't been used yet. The big-bellied man quickly said. It looks like it's almost the end. We can prepare for the next person. I'll do it. Little Tai Sui strode over with its head held high and chest puffed out. However, Venerable Peach Blossom pulled it back with one hand. Little Tai Sui immediately glared at Venerable Peach Blossom, its gaze seeming to want to eat Venerable Peach Blossom. Let go. Audacious. How dare you pull this seat? Venerable Peach Blossom rolled his eyes and said, It's not like this is the first time you've pulled me apart. Alright, let Feng Changqing and the others go first. You bring up the rear. Little Tai Sui held back for a long time before finally uttering, how preposterous. They were looking down on his small stature, so they wanted Feng Zhangqing and the others, who were taller, to go first. Feng Zhangqing nodded and didn't care about Little Tai Sui's dissatisfaction. He walked past him, pulled on the rope, and climbed down the cave entrance. At this time, Dao Wuji's roar could be heard faintly from below, but it really couldn't be heard clearly. But at least they could hear the word here. Clearly, Dao Wuji had already stepped onto the ground at the bottom of the cave. Feng Zhangqing sped down. Not long after, everyone filed forward. Chapter 56-46. One by one, they climbed out of the bottomless pit and followed the ropes woven from yellow vines. Everyone cautiously crawled and didn't communicate much along the way. It wasn't until they reached the top and stepped on solid ground that everyone breathed sighs of relief one after another. When they focused their eyes, they only saw a pitch-black tunnel in front of them. There was a bit of light on the side. Madame Mo took out a night-luminescent pearl the size of a ball and held it in her palm as she paced back and forth at the entrance of the pit. Thump, 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 thump. Feng Changqing and the others took out hammers from their inner worlds and were smashing the wall beside them. The big-bellied man jumped in fright and quickly cried out in horror, "Hey, hey, don't smash. Don't smash. If the entire cave collapses, it'll be a serious matter. Flying is prohibited here, and there are gravity restraints everywhere. I think we can't be too rash." Right, this brother's words are reasonable. Young Master Mo, Madame Mo, I think we should move forward in this tunnel and see what's inside. Yeah, who knows, we might be able to get out if we keep going forward. In your dreams, Arbor retorted before turning to look at the surroundings. Continue hammering. Thump, thump, thump. After receiving Sir Jojo's order, Feng Changqing and the others hammered the cave wall even harder. Wait a minute. Did you guys hear anything? Arbor expressionlessly glanced at the pitch-black cave wall and silently covered himself with an eggshell defensive barrier. Get ready. Duan Yu couldn't help but twitch his mouth, and he also quickly activated the defensive barrier to protect himself and baby Mo. According to Jojo's annoying personality, something terrible was about to happen. Mo Lien, Rotten Peach Blossom, Little Tai Sui, and the others were already familiar with Jojo's trickery, so they also silently activated their defensive barriers. In the blink of an eye, there was a loud boom. The cave wall that Feng Changqing and the others had just hammered was now broken open by a surging current. The raging flood surged along with the crowd, drowning everyone with a splash. Stoic Joe was encased in a transparent eggshell defensive barrier, and he floated along with the current as he rushed toward the tunnel. Her eggshell was amazing. His speed was especially fast, and in a flash, he was far ahead of the thousands of soldiers and horses everyone watched as she drifted along with the current and then swished past. The eggshell was tossed about in the water. The little stoic followed this eggshell and toppled it all over the place. The corners of her mouth were pursed into a stern straight line, and a somewhat cracked expression appeared on her small face. Land whale. She roared with all her might. Everyone only heard a muffled roar in their ears. Soon, they felt as if their bodies were being lifted up by a small mountain. The land whale was huge, and it lifted the group of unlucky people who were drifting with the current. It was running fast in the direction of Arbor with its short legs. However, Sir Jojo's eggshell was truly amazing. She performed exceptionally well as soon as she entered the water and swam especially fast. She couldn't even control herself. Hence, the land whale chased after her for a while before finally barking twice. Why chase? Once Little Master entered the water, she was like a fish back in water. It was useless to chase because he couldn't catch up at all. Sir Jojo expressionlessly was swept forward by the current, and a sparkling waterfall suddenly appeared before her eyes. Her small mouth opened into an O shape again. Fuck, it's happening again. Chapter 56-47. She remembered that a long time ago, she had also been washed down into a bottomless pool by a waterfall. What was going on? Why the heck was she tricked again after entering the holy domain and the holy palace? The little stoic stretched out 2 fingers with a taut face and attached gravity talismans to her body with a smack, smack, smack. With the weight of 500 kilograms attached, her body was as heavy as an iron ball at this very moment. The water current could only barely push her forward a few inches. That's right. She didn't want to be like a ball and be knocked down the waterfall by the water current and smash into the pool below. That would be too ugly, and she wouldn't have any face in front of everyone. As she thought this, it was as if this fellow grew on top of the waterfall. No matter how the water current battered her, she just couldn't go down. At the same time, the land whale poked its head out of the water and roared excitedly. It's its omnipotent little master Silver. Pfft, the land whale spat out a mouthful of water. The little stoic, who was originally blocking the waterfall's exit, was spat out by the land whale and rolled down. Baby Mo called out "Mommy," hugged his adoptive father, and rolled down together with the land whale at an extremely fast speed. Mo Lien, she simply couldn't bear to watch. The land whale was dumbfounded, and it roared at the sky in grief and indignation. Dragging its short legs, it hastily crawled to the waterfall's exit. It was then washed down by the water current. Everyone tumbled down from its back, wailing and shrieking. It looked like such a huge monster was about to crash into the pool. A certain stoic floating in the eggshell reached out a small fist and waved it forcefully. The land whale turned into a streak of light and abruptly disappeared in front of her. Everyone tumbled into the pool one after another like rolling earth balls. One by one, they crawled and flopped in the water. The big-bellied man said in horror, "It's over, it's over, it's over. I don't know how to swim, I don't know how to swim." The other young woman also turned pale with fright. "Ah, I don't know how to swim either, ah." Arbor expressionlessly looked at this group of drama queens and suddenly said, "Can you all stand up first before competing?" The big-bellied man hastily stood up and then laughed awkwardly. This pool of water only reached his chest, so it was not enough to drown him. Ha ha. The others also laughed foolishly as if they were trying to cover it up. Everyone stood up. Some of them had already removed their defensive shields. After all, not everyone could be like Jojo, who could wear an eggshell to protect himself for a long time. Jojo swayed in the water, her small eyes sweeping the surroundings. "Did you see that? The barrier is on top of the mountain. You have to climb up and knock down that barrier. Only then can you be considered to have unlocked the second layer." To be honest, once the second barrier was broken, who knew what kind of misfortune awaited them? It was possible that he would be in the water or in the fire. He Wei-Ping cupped his hands and said, "We were washed down from the opposite waterfall. Now, it seems to be a little difficult to climb up the mountain wall. With the yellow vine rope, of course it won't be difficult." Someone took out the rope that everyone had used earlier from his inner world. The big-bellied man nodded. "The environment here is strange. It seems like only the yellow vine rope can help us get up and down. Listen, I think there's a sound." Arbor said expressionlessly, "When we broke through the first array core, we killed a sacred guardian beast." Chapter 56-48. So you mean that the guardian beast of the second array core is here? Everyone looked at each other, only to see Madame Mo silently throw a few defensive talismans on herself. Then, she flicked hundreds of defensive talismans onto young Master Mo and her teammates. "Get ready." Everyone couldn't help but look up at the sky speechlessly. When they heard Madame Mo say the word "get ready" expressionlessly, they had the urge to cry. Get ready my ass, she was always getting ready to be unlucky. "It's here." A frying pan suddenly appeared in Sir Jojo's hand. Everyone took a closer look. Wasn't this the frying pan that young Master Mo used to block the lightning? He Wei-Ping and the others couldn't help but twitch their mouths. When they looked up again, their faces were distorted. "Ah, ah, ah, ah." One of them pointed at the dense mass of something in the sky. He was so shocked that his jaw almost dropped. "Didn't you say that the first array core would only encounter one holy beast? Why was there a group of them here? You can't play like this." Sir Jojo threw the frying pan out of the defensive barrier and blocked the top of his head. The frying pan suddenly expanded to several meters in length and width, enveloping Mo Lien and the others in it. Chirp chirp. A noise came from the sky, accompanied by the sound of the wind. A large flock of blackbirds smashed into the frying pan, making dong 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 sounds. The frying pan was indestructible. It could even block the lightning of the heavenly Tao. Naturally, it wouldn't be a problem for it to block a flock of birds. It was the flock of birds that were banging on the pot, occasionally accompanied by a creaking sound. It was really ear-piercing and unpleasant. And the people of the holy region who didn't have the frying pan to block it suffered. They hurriedly opened their defensive barriers. Under the fierce attack of the blackbirds, they cried out in panic. This flock of birds was too terrifying. Although this flock of little blackbirds was only the size of a baby's fist, their beaks were curved downwards like sharp knives. Bang! 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 The continuous smashing of the defensive barrier made the cultivators inside so anxious that they were about to piss their pants. If these blackbirds continued to stare at their defensive barriers, no one would be able to withstand it in less than half an hour. They would all suffer. Quickly think of a way. A female cultivator couldn't help but cry out. She originally wanted to come to the Holy Palace to pick up equipment, but in the end, she didn't get any benefits. She was about to be seriously injured and die here. It really made her feel indignant. Madame Imo! Several cultivators screamed. Sir Jojo threw out a bunch of defensive talismans and circled around the people of the holy region. Swoosh! 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 They formed a defensive rune array and temporarily blocked the ferocious attacks of the blackbirds. A female cultivator couldn't help but cry, "This can't go to continue." Once the talisman power in the defensive talisman formation is consumed, it will not be able to resist the attack of the flock of birds. What are you guys waiting for? When there are defensive array glyphs, attack the flock of birds as much as possible. As soon as little Taisui finished speaking, everyone hurriedly took action. They each controlled their sacred power and shot the black birds from a distance. Are these black birds all saint-level beasts? No. Arbor shook his head. The cultivators finally heaved a sigh of relief, but Arbor continued, "It's a group of divine beasts. Everyone." Chapter 56-49. One sacred beast versus a flock of divine beasts. Who would win and who would lose? Who would win and who would lose? They really didn't freaking know. This Alexander's life was filled with passion and ripples everywhere. Everyone gritted their teeth and fought with all their might against the flock of blackbirds swooping down from the sky. Those fist-sized blackbirds soon piled up on the ground in a densely packed circle, causing one's scalp to tingle. Thankfully, Sir Jojo sat firmly inside the eggshell defensive barrier from beginning to end and didn't come into contact with those disgusting things. She glanced at her son from the corner of her eyes. She saw that the little fellow didn't have the slightest bit of shock or fear on his face. He was especially serious as he scrutinized those blackbird corpses outside the defensive barrier. Who knew what he was fiddling with as he squatted down? This child truly didn't know what fear was at all. He was bold yet meticulous, completely inheriting Sir Jojo's fine tradition. How wonderful! Son, what are you doing? Arbor was suddenly startled and couldn't resist asking. Her precious son was currently taking out a small jar of something from his inner world and smearing it on his face and hands. Hearing his mother calling him, the little fellow turned his pitch-black face and grinned at her. "Mother, mother, I found a way to break it." "Foster father, wait for me." Duanyu jumped in fright when he saw him opening the defensive barrier and jumping out. He reached out to grab him without thinking. "What are you doing?" "Don't worry, I'll be fine." The little dumpling jumped out and completely escaped the range of the frying pan. Everyone involuntarily jumped in fright. Although Arbor knew that her son was extremely skilled and nothing would happen to him, her heart still couldn't help but jump fiercely. The little fellow was currently standing outside the defensive talisman matrix in front of everyone. He was completely naked and didn't activate any defenses. He Wei-Ping jumped in fright and hastily shouted, "Child, hurry and go back." A flock of black birds was charging towards their talisman matrix. How could they not attack a completely naked child when they suddenly saw him? Yet this was the truth. When that flock of black birds saw Mo Bao Bao standing there, they all vigorously flapped their wings and distanced themselves from this fellow. If black birds could roll their eyes, they would definitely roll their eyes at Mo Bao Bao 100 times in disdain. Gee. A black bird flew in front of Xiao Tuanzi, as if its body had not yet developed, flying in a crooked and hurried manner. They flapped their wings vigorously and scattered away from Baby Mo's side at a strange speed. The little guy patted the dirt off his face and hands, then turned to the group of uncles and said proudly, "Look. Little Tuanzi has never picked up trash. This was a treasure. If they smeared it on their bodies, they would be able to effectively prevent mosquitoes from biting them. Ah pooey, they would be able to prevent black birds from attacking them. You stink from head to toe." The little stoic pinched her nose in disdain. "Don't poke your adoptive father anymore." Xiao Tuanzi blinked his watery phoenix eyes and pounced on his father in an aggrieved manner. "Daddy, Mommy dislikes Bao Bao." His father didn't know whether to accept it or not. A piece of hot potato suddenly jumped onto his lap and hugged his thigh. The little mud on its face kept rubbing against his father's leg. "Daddy, carry me. Go to your adoptive father's side and carry him." Mo Lian's handsome face darkened. Her son was truly extraordinarily smelly. "Daddy. Go find your rotten peach blossom uncle." Disdain, utter disdain. Chapter 5650. Mother, father dislikes little furball. Baby Mo immediately complained. Mo Lian hooked the little thing with her long leg and sent it to Divine Peach Blossom. Carrying the smelly little treasure, Bu Shichen didn't know whether to throw it away or not. His handsome face immediately turned a little green. "You're too smelly, little furball." "Am I?" The little guy even raised his sleeve and sniffed it. Blinking his eyes, he reached out and touched his face. "Uncle Peach Blossom, could it be that what I dug earlier wasn't soil, but bird droppings?" The little guy jumped into Divine Peach Blossom's arms and rubbed against his clothes. Bu Shichen was a little petrified. The hand holding the little guy stiffened. Mo Lian chuckled and nodded. "It seems very possible. Or maybe there was bird droppings mixed in with the soil you dug." Lord Jojo felt that Jojo's lotus was probably the truth. Thus, he pinched his nose and called out, "Son, send that jar of soil to the uncles and aunties over there. Let them all apply it." "Okay." Baby Mo looked at his mother with sparkling eyes. "Mother, do you want some?" "No need. I thank your whole family. It's so smelly." "Son, you can keep it for yourself and slowly enjoy it." "Strange, it wasn't so smelly when I dug it up." The little guy muttered as he got down from rotten peach blossom. His short legs thumped as he walked towards the people of the sanctuary. Perhaps it was because it had been sealed in the jar for too long, so the smell had spread out. "Uncles and aunties, for you to use." Baby Mo happily raised the jar in his hand high and handed it to the stiff-faced big-bellied man. "No need to panic. I still have a few more jars after you use it up. There will definitely be enough." "Thank you, little Gongzi." The big-bellied man practically forced those words out from between his teeth. "Thank your whole family, little Gongzi." "You're welcome." The child nodded seriously. Just remember to owe me a favor. My mother said that it's impolite not to reciprocate. I believe that you are all adults now. You will definitely keep your promises. Everyone in the sanctuary was speechless. Why did he not want to talk to this brat? Little brat, can you stay away from us? I really don't want you to continue wasting my money. But strangely enough, the jar of bird feces mixed with the soil was very useful. While the little guy was talking to them, not a single black bird swooped down to attack them. It was obvious that they hated the smell. Hurry up and apply it. The little fellow looked at them encouragingly. You're all adults, so you should know better than me. The stench compared to your life is more important. As long as we're alive, what's the point of our reputation? If we lose our lives, then we'll truly lose everything. Everyone was dumbfounded and hurriedly opened the jar. They scrambled to get rid of the soil and feces inside and worked hard to smear it on themselves. Please don't say any more. Ancestor, please leave. Baby Mo was a little gloomy. Separated by his mother's eggshell cover, he squatted by his mother's feet and said softly, "They don't like to talk to me." She didn't even talk to me for 3 sentences before ignoring me. His mother encouraged him through the cover. Son, don't be discouraged. Those who didn't like to talk to mother all died later on. Everyone. Chapter 56-51. The others didn't know how to respond to the little stoic's words. In the end, they looked at each other and hastened to smear mud and bird droppings on their faces and hands. After everyone smeared it, the only benefit was probably this. Everyone was stinky, and their nostrils were filled with that smell, so no one would dislike anyone else. The flock of black birds was sent flying by the stench and scattered far into the horizon in a dense pile, but they didn't dare to come down. The little stoic simply removed the eggshell on her body and expressionlessly looked at everyone. She clenched her small fists. Go! Why didn't they do it? Everyone felt that this situation was like forcing a duck onto a perch. This Madame Mo was truly talented at commanding. With one order, everyone began to dawdle and move. They took the yellow vine rope and flung it up at top speed. Once, twice, thrice the big-bellied man wiped his sweat and looked awkwardly at this little madam. Madame Mo, I don't think I can throw it up. Arbor was about to cry from their stupidity. Thankfully, her teammates back then weren't these people, or else she would definitely go crazy. Oh, no, she might get angry and beat them up first. Without using a bit of holy power, could this rope be thrown up to such a high mountain peak? A bunch of pig brains. She tied 2 seeds to one end of the rope and swiftly flung it up the mountain peak. Thus, the rope wound around 2 wildly growing trees and stood firmly on the mountain peak. The long yellow vine rope then obediently drooped down. The rope was long enough, so even if it was twice as high, it would still be enough. Seeing this, everyone couldn't help but sigh in relief. Then, they filed forward and swiftly climbed up the yellow vine rope to the mountain peak. They stood on this mountain peak and looked over. They could see the waterfall that had tragically washed their group into the deep pool earlier. The waterfall splashed with sparkling water, and the chilly air assaulted their faces. At this time, Arbor, Mo-Lien, and the others also climbed up the yellow vine rope. After swiftly retrieving the rope and stuffing it into her inner world, Arbor expressionlessly looked back at everyone. Go! This Madame Mo was really stingy. Look at how swift she was at putting things away. He must have gotten used to it in the past. Attack! Arbor gave the order, and the group of miserable sacred domain people very consciously rushed forward. There was no order in the team. Everyone exerted their strength and exerted a lot of effort. Bang, 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 they pounded the barrier fiercely. Arbor led Master Dongfang and the others to stand by the side and watch for a long time. He shook his head and said, "You guys are getting worse and worse." Everyone was speechless. "Why don't you go up instead of spouting nonsense?" Everyone only dared to grumble in their hearts. In reality, he didn't dare to say it out loud. If he said that, he would definitely be scolded. There was no need to think too much about it. Young Madam would definitely say, "You guys only contributed a little. It was my holy power pearl that tore open a gap in the barrier." Everyone gritted their teeth and steeled their hearts, continuing to hack and chisel. Finally, a small crack appeared on the barrier. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief and exclaimed, "Quick, Madam M.O., the crack has appeared." Without waiting for these people to say anything, Arbor flicked his finger and a sacred power orb rolled over. Just as the sacred power orb exploded with a huge burst of energy, a huge mushroom cloud appeared in midair. A figure was kicked out of the void by someone and fell to the ground with a loud ouch. He almost broke his front teeth from the fall. Chapter 56-52. The little old man stood up and pointed at the figure that appeared in midair, shouting angrily, "Qin Nidian, you little bastard, you even dare to hit Tian Dao. You're really not a good thing." Ouch! A dazzling whip of light was about to hit the little old man's chest. The old man was agile and nimble. His whole body was close to the ground as he rolled over to avoid the attack. Although he was in a sorry state, he did not hit the old man. The heavenly Tao was both furious and pleased. He got up from the ground and stomped his feet as he snorted. "Little bastard, do you think you can beat me?" Paw! A whip of light landed heavily on the old man's butt. The little old man's face turned green. He jumped up and shouted angrily, You bastard, you really dare to hit me." Everyone looked on in confusion. They subconsciously gathered their small bodies, leaving a wide open space in front of them. At this time, everyone had already run out of the second barrier. In front of them was a large open space. There was no more yellow sand wreaking havoc. Everyone could see it very clearly. In mid-air, the woman in the red dress was holding a whip of white light. She was very ruthless. With one whip, Tian Dao jumped up high, dancing and baring his teeth. He shouted, "Qin Nidian, you little bastard, you really want to defy the heavens." Qin Nidian smiled. "It's not like this is the first time, you know. I'm used to defying the heavens." "Ah, pooey." Tian Dao touched his old waist, his face full of anger. "Let me tell you, you have to stop immediately. When this old man really makes his move, you won't be able to ouch my mother." Tian Dao was slapped down by a giant palm made of light elements. His head hit the ground. He crawled on the ground, his two weak and thin arms moving. Ouch, ouch. Everyone, this was an existence that completely subverted everyone's senses. What kind of person was Tian Dao? He was an existence that the entire sacred region could not shake. But at this time, seeing Tian Dao lying on the ground being beaten, they felt that it was somewhat out of their imagination. The visual shock was not ordinary. "Qin Nidian, stop fighting, stop fighting. I'm telling you, you really need to change that little temper of yours." "Ha! Yes, only an old man like me can stand you. Oh. Don't hit me. Don't hit me. Yes, your man can't stand you. Damn, Qin Nidian, you really hit my head." Fine, I promise you, can't I?" Stop. Against the sky stopped and hovered in mid-air, looking down at him. At this time, a female cultivator couldn't help but cry out, Ah, Your Excellency, why can you fly? Yes, this place was affected by the law of gravity, so it was impossible to fly. Therefore, they had to rely on the yellow vine rope to climb up and down the mountain. How can Chi Nitian be the same as you guys? Tian Dao retorted. Ouch. He covered his head and got up from the ground. Okay, stop hitting me. I'll adjust the difficulty to a lower level and let them train in the normal mode. Everyone wanted to cry, but no tears came out. So, their previous guess was completely correct. The heavenly axiom, that old bastard, had really cheated them by increasing the difficulty of the Sacred Palace's trial. Chapter 56-53. At this moment, everyone couldn't help but want to howl a few times. Why? Heavens and earth. What was wrong with Tian Dao? Why did he have to trick them? What the hell was going on? Was there a need for this? What was the benefit of tricking them like this? Thinking about this, the straightforward female cultivator couldn't help but ask, Elder Tian Dao, why did you raise the difficulty this year when nothing went wrong in the Sacred Palace every year? Right. Everyone nodded and couldn't help but look at the female cultivator as if they were looking at a brave warrior. A woman who dared to question the evil forces was more manly than all the men here. Tian Dao couldn't help but retort, I can do whatever I want, do I need to explain to you little cultivators? The truth is, this old man didn't freaking want to scam you guys. The only people I wanted to scam from beginning to end were Chow Mu's family of 3. You guys were merely incidental humph. The female cultivator didn't agree, Elder Tian Dao, if that's the case, then you're in the wrong. You increased the difficulty of the trial for no reason, making it difficult for us. Tian Dao couldn't help but get angry and glared at the female cultivator. What do you mean? Are you questioning my decision? Whatever mode I want to give you guys have to accept it. That's not how it is. It's normal mode every year, but you gave us 10 times the difficulty mode this year. This doesn't seem right, there has to be a reason. The reason is that this guy wants to trick my nephew's family, you guys are just being tricked. The female cultivator cupped her hands towards Chi Nitian. Thank you for your advice, Elder. Chi Nitian's mouth twitched, he couldn't help but look at this female cultivator. She had a long ponytail and was in good spirits. She was expressionless and the corners of her mouth were slightly down. Her dark eyes were filled with emotions of disagreement towards Tian Dao. Elder Tian Dao, if that's the case, you wanted to trick people but failed. In the end, you dragged us innocent people down with you. Everyone, this female warrior, you said what most people didn't dare to say. You're too strong. Lord Jojo glanced at her, then looked at Tian Dao. The female cultivator's voice was loud and clear as she said, compensate me. Mo Lien, Duan Yu, and the others couldn't help twitching their mouths. Everyone was speechless. Arbor. Strange, this female cultivator's way of doing things seemed a little familiar. It was inexplicably to her liking. Compensate. The heavenly Dao actually stuttered a little. He pointed at the female cultivator and was so angry that smoke came out of his nostrils. You actually asked the heavenly Dao to compensate you. Disgraceful. Damn it. No matter what, he would not compensate her today. If he really compensated her, what kind of person would he be? Of course we have to compensate. The stern-faced female cultivator was still expressionless, and her voice was also very stiff. However, she was very polite. Her words were sonorous and forceful, and her articulation was very clear. If it weren't for the heavenly Dao, you wouldn't have implicated us ordinary citizens of the holy region when you wanted to trap Madame Mo's family of 3. After we entered the holy palace, how much time and energy have we wasted? You should also know. Chapter 56-54. These are all unnecessary costs of time. You should be very clear that for us cultivators, time is precious. Time is equivalent to money, materials, and life. Only with sufficient time can we continue to move forward. Advancing through hardships requires time, and striving to improve also requires time. Doing anything requires time. And now, you're wasting a lot of our time, wasting our lives. In this sacred palace, from the first step we took until now, we haven't found any materials, and we haven't obtained anything. Our lives have been wasted in this sacred training ground. The female cultivator gave an impassioned speech, and her speech was extremely fast, becoming more and more intense. Everyone's faces were flushed as they watched her speak faster and faster, and the more she spoke, the more passionate she became. One after another, they raised their necks, raised their heads, and puffed out their chests, holding back the words they wanted to say. Since that's the case, it's somewhat unreasonable not to compensate. After all of this was caused by you, Senior. Compensating is a matter of course. If you don't, then you're extremely shameless. Senior Heavenly Tao, since you're the Heavenly Tao, you have to set an example. You mustn't chill the hearts of us cultivators. After the declarative conclusion, the scene was silent. Everyone looked at each other in dismay, and their gazes focused on Heavenly Tao's flushed old face. He might have been a little stupefied by the female cultivator's rebuke. When she was speaking, he wanted to interject several times, but each time, he was interrupted by me. You. Ah. You. Fuck, silently ended. This guy couldn't spit out a complete rebuttal sentence at all. Now, he might be about to explode. Just at this moment, the entire scene was silent. Lord Jojo suddenly raised his small hand, and expressionlessly applauded the female cultivator. Everyone, Feng Changqing and the others fiercely stifled their laughter, and one after another, they coughed lightly to cover up their laughter. Wow! Baby Mo opened his small mouth wide, and followed his mother to clap hard. This auntie completely said what my mother wanted to say. This was really great. This way, the stoic mother didn't have to say so much. Every time he saw the stoic mother's taut face and say a lot, Baby Mo was always worried that his mother would choke on her saliva. After all, from what his father and adoptive father said, his mother didn't like to talk much since she was young. The Heavenly Tao held back for a long time. Bastard! Damn it, this bunch of people, when did they start to stand on the side of Mo Brat and his family? How despicable! They actually joined forces to deal with him, the Heavenly Tao Elder. He would definitely give them a taste of their own medicine. Slap! A whip of light landed on his butt. Qin Nidian impatiently urged, "Hurry up and change, stop messing with my nephew's family." I'm telling you, old ghost, if you continue to make things difficult for my child, I won't let you off. Tian Dao rubbed his butt angrily and glared at Arbor. Stupid girl, you can't beat me, so you bring the adults out to look for trouble. Sir Jojo looked at him expressionlessly. Tian Dao, you'd better compensate us with some god-level and above refining materials and herbs. You didn't do the right thing. As the Heavenly Tao, since you've done such a thing, it's not like we can't forgive you after the compensation is paid. Yes, Madame Mo is right. I hope that Elder Heavenly Tao will grant my wish. This female cultivator, this one is Zhang Jing. Greetings. Chapter 56-55. This female cultivator Zhang and Madame Mo's words are very reasonable. Heavenly Tao Elder, it's time for you to express your sincerity. Heavenly Tao. Fuck your grandma. He was flustered and exasperated as he glared at Arbor, then at Nitian who was glaring at them. He looked around. How pitiful. None of the people here were on Heavenly Tao Elder's side. Why? Why was it like this? The heavens were unfair. These despicable people, they were all on the same side as Arbor, that stinky lass. Wah wah, this old man was so angry, so angry, so angry. The old man thumped his chest and stomped his feet. Scram! After drinking it in one gulp, everyone felt as if they were being pulled up by a suction force. Following the strong suction force, they were sucked into the air and disappeared into a passage in the air. When his figure landed again, Yizichin was stunned. Everyone rolled onto a soft patch of grass, and a fragrant smell wafted into their noses. Baby Mo couldn't help but roll on the grass and excitedly patted the grass. Mother, mother, we're out. Everyone couldn't help but cry tears of joy as they hugged each other. Thank the heavens, thank the earth, thank the common people, thank all living beings, they finally returned to the normal training mode of the sacred palace. Thank you. Yes, they finally came out of the 9-palace illusion array. Now, in front of them was the grass at the entrance of the sacred palace. But at this time, they had already entered the sacred palace. Stepping on the flowers and grass in the palace, all they could smell was a strange fragrance. The compensation is here. Another female cultivator beside Zhang Jing couldn't help but cheer as she pointed to the front. Everyone looked over, their eyes almost popping out of their sockets. At this moment, many precious medicinal herbs were waving at them from the front. There were no cheating sacred beasts, no extremely aggressive divine beasts and black birds, no barriers that they didn't need to expend all their strength to attack. While what appeared in front of them was a patch of fragrant, green medicinal herbs. Joy, so much so that everyone immediately ran towards the pile of herbs. Everyone was chanting in their hearts, not an illusion, not an illusion, not an illusion. Ow! It really wasn't an illusion. Baby Mo had already changed into a clean set of clothes. He sat in his father's arms and asked in confusion, "What's wrong with these aunties and uncles? Why did they all rush towards the same herbal field?" Looking at the growth of the herbs, it was the most ordinary heaven-grade herbaria. The little fellow pursed his lips. "Why are you so blind? What's so good about snatching heaven-tier medicinal herbs?" The little stoic coughed lightly. "They're going to snatch the heaven-rank medicinal herbs needed to refine fasting pills." Fasting pill? Little child exclaimed, his face filled with disbelief as he looked at the group of fools. Those who could enter the sacred palace to gain experience were at least above the spiritual elder realm. They were all in the transcendent realm, so why would they need something like the fasting pill? For their descendants. Mo Lien explained, "It's little friends like you. They need to eat fasting pills." Baby Mo was dumbfounded. "Do you need it?" Mo Lien couldn't help but retort, "You don't need other people's needs." This son looked smart, but in reality, he was stupid. He thought that everyone was like him, busying themselves with cultivation in their mother's womb. Chapter 56-56. At that time, he was worried about his daughter-in-law, but he didn't expect her to give birth so smoothly. He was the most unlucky one. Ever since this son of his was born, the heavenly Tao always liked to show up and strike him. What a fucking trap. Mo Lien couldn't help but sigh at the thought of this. Baby Mo hung in his arms and moved his little body with joy. "Daddy, I saw a lot of divine-grade medicinal herbs over there. Although the 100-herb garden doesn't lack them, but let's not waste them. I'll go over and pick some, okay?" Mo Lien nodded. She knew that the little guy couldn't stay put at all. She put him on the ground and patted his little head. "Don't run too far. Baby Mo skipped away happily. He took out a small sickle from his inner world and carried his basket on his back. Everyone couldn't help but laugh. This guy was just like his mother, a scammer. He carried the basket on his back for show, but in reality, the herbs were directly sent to the star domain for Chio Chio to distribute to his clones. In the eyes of the big-bellied man, he Wei Ping, and the rest, the heavenly Tao's compensation was too generous. But Arbor didn't like these herbs. Anyway, she had them in her 100-herb garden, so she couldn't be bothered to do it. As for her son, this little guy couldn't stop. If he liked to be busy, then be busy. Anyway, at his age, it was the time to combine practice and theory. He should go pick more herbs and distinguish the medicinal properties of various herbs. Otherwise, when he needed to use them in the future, he would hate himself for being shallow. Mo Bao Bao squatted alone in a god-rank medicinal herb region, happily harvesting the various medicinal herbs. Zhang Jing and the rest, on the other hand, collected all the ingredients for making the fasting pill in the heaven-level herb area. The big-bellied man was obviously a little embarrassed. He even ran over and asked Arbor shyly, "Madam Mo, aren't you going to pick them? If you also want the ingredients for the fasting pill, we can share some with everyone." "Thank you. My heaven-level herbs have piled up in countless warehouses in the star domain. There are also more than 10 baskets of fasting pills piled up in the warehouse. They were all made by that troublesome son of mine." Madame Mo shook her head expressionlessly. "Just take it." Everyone was overjoyed and nodded repeatedly. They even praised Madame Mo for being magnanimous and a good person in their hearts. Young Master Mo was really lucky to be able to marry a woman like Madame Mo. If Madame Mo knew what these people were thinking, she would definitely chuckle. "You guys are really thinking too much." She just looked down on these heaven-grade materials. She wasn't someone with noble character, unquestionable integrity, magnanimity, or anything like that. These words really shouldn't be used on her. Everyone spread out and continued to harvest medicinal herbs for quite a while. Their faces were all glowing from harvesting medicinal herbs, and they had earned so much that their inner worlds were a bit cramped. Only then did they stop and run back to Chow Mu and the others with a grin. At the same time, a noise came from the door. Everyone looked up and saw the Western Master leading a large group of people. His expression was extremely ugly as he rushed over. When he saw that almost all the medicinal herbs on the lawn had been picked, his face turned dark. "Master Dongfang, you've gone too far. Why didn't you leave some soup for your brothers to drink?" The Western Master's face was cold as he said angrily, "Look at this herb area. What has become of it?" Chapter 56-57. The group of cultivators behind the Western Master were also filled with righteous indignation as they glared angrily at the crowd. These people were too shameless. Such a large area of medicinal herbs had actually been picked clean, not even leaving behind a single dregs. How could everyone endure this? He Wei Ping and the others looked at each other and silently gathered around young Master Mo and Madame Mo. The Western Master led more than 100 people. At this moment, they were all standing across the lawn, glaring at them covetously. In such a holy land for training, everything depended on one's fists. Perhaps the Western Master would fly into a rage and pounce on them together with the people around him, forcing them to hand over the medicinal herbs they had picked earlier. That wasn't impossible. He Wei Ping, Zhang Jing, and the other cultivators were all looking at the Western Master and the group of people he brought with him warily. The Western Master chuckled at the Eastern Master with a fake smile. "Brother Dongfang, this is a little unreasonable." Without waiting for Master Dongfang to speak, a childish voice spoke up. "What's there to be embarrassed about? First come, first served. This is the rule of the training. There's nothing you can do even if you're envious and jealous. After all, who asked you to be half a beat late? The Western Master's face darkened as he shouted sternly, "Who is it? Step forward." Baby Mo hugged his father's neck and cried out angrily, "Daddy, he's being fierce to little Tuanzi." Mo Lien raised his hand, and a heavy wave of sacred energy swept across. The Western Master was shocked and hurriedly dodged to the side. However, it was already too late. His entire body was hit by the thick holy power on his shoulder. He flipped twice in the air to disperse the power. Even so, his body could not help but tremble twice, and he took more than 10 steps back. The Eastern Master's eyes flashed slightly, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a faint smile. "Brother Western Master, why are you always so impatient? It's useless to be so impatient." The Eastern Master stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the Western Master contemptuously. "If you're willing to bet, you must be willing to admit defeat. I feel that little friend Mo is right. Since all of you were late, then it's inevitable that the good stuff would be taken away." The Western Master's face darkened. He clenched his fists tightly, and the veins on the back of his hands bulged. It was obvious that he was in a terrible mood. However, what could he do now? If he stayed here, other than being insulted by others, there was nothing else he could do. He couldn't beat that powerful young Master Mo. Master Dongfang, this cunning old fox, actually found young Master Mo to be his backer from the very beginning. It was simply hateful. "Let's go." The Western Master flicked his sleeves and turned to leave. Master Dongfang couldn't help but laugh as he spoke. "Brother Dongfang, how did you guys get here? Have you ever experienced the 9 Palaces illusion formation?" The Western Master did not want to waste his breath on Dongfang Yubao. He only sneered, "What does it have to do with you?" "I'm just asking out of curiosity," Dongfang Yushu said with a smile. "Brother Dongfang, if you don't want to tell me, that's fine too." The Western Master had a belly full of anger. How could he be happy to waste his breath on Dongfang Yushu? Just as he was about to leave, he heard an enchanting laughter. "Oh, Brother Dongfang, you're here too." "Brother Dongfang, everyone's here." The Western Master's face darkened even more. He did not even need to turn around to know who had come. Chapter 56-58. The Master of the South and the Master of the North came together with their men. More than 800 people gathered again. They all felt a little strange and looked at each other. "Oh my God, such a big herb field. Brother West, did you bring your men to pick all the herbs?" The Master of the South cried out and covered her mouth with a handkerchief. The Master of the West's face darkened. "Do you think it's possible? I just arrived a little earlier than you." As they spoke, a mechanical voice came from the sky. "There are still 24 hours before the sacred palace closes. In the future, every 2 hours will be notified. I will now announce the latest round of the luck ranking list. First place, Mo Xiao. Second place, Zhang Jing. Third place, Master of the East. Fourth place." Arbor and her husband looked at each other expressionlessly. Just now, they didn't join in the fun to pick the herbs. On the luck ranking list, they were definitely at the bottom. But it didn't matter. If their family of 3 occupied the top 3 rankings, would that old fellow, the Way of the Heavens, kick up a fuss again and give them another hell mode experience? The Master of the West's face twitched and his gaze fell on Mo Xiao. "This must be our little friend Mo Xiao." Baby Mo cupped his little hands with a serious face. "Old friend, I've made a fool of myself. I'm just a little luckier than you. Don't be discouraged. Keep working hard. You can do it." Everyone, they really wanted to slap this child. Listening to this child's words made their balls hurt. Of course, they didn't dare to slap him. If they really did, the adults around that child weren't to be trifled with. The Master of the West was so angry that his face twitched. He put on a fake smile and pointed to the front. There's not much time left. Everyone, will make a move first. Who would be happy to continue talking nonsense with them? Anyway, it wasn't realistic to snatch the herbs back. If they really fought, it would be a waste of time and energy. Maybe after the fight, the Sacred Palace experience would also be over. If they only managed to snatch a few herbs, the Master of the West would really cry to death. After all, his goal this time was still that supreme treasure. When the Western Master thought of this, he suddenly felt that he was crazy. Why was he wasting time with these people? Let's go to the main palace. The West Imperial Master shouted. Then, he led his people away. Now that the Sacred Palace's normal mode had been activated, those who had come here before began to familiarize themselves with the place. As long as they passed through the lawn and entered the front hall to the middle hall, they would soon reach the main hall that the Western Master had mentioned. He Wei-Ping took a few steps forward and said to Arbor, "Madam Mo, we know the way. Let's go together." Arbor nodded and didn't refuse the help. Rather than wandering around aimlessly, he might as well get someone to lead the way. Master Dongfang Yu also smiled and said, "It's not far from there. The main hall is where the resources are gathered." Then, shouldn't we hurry up? Everlasting Blade could not help but ask. After all, the Western Master, the Southern Master, and the others had already gone over. If they didn't chase after him now, they would be one step behind. Arbor nodded and waved his hand. "All right, let's go." Chapter 56-59. Actually, Sir Jojo didn't really care about those resources. But since everyone was so excited, it wouldn't be good to dampen their spirits. With that thought, the little stoic followed Master Dongfang, who was leading the way. "Didn't you say you were looking for Crimson Dawn?" "Yes." Master Dongfang nodded. "Do you have a clue?" "I have a little clue." Master Dongfang replied with a smile. "But I come to the Holy Palace to search every year and encounter some trouble every year. The trouble must be brought by other masters," so Arbor didn't ask and just nodded. "Then I hope you can find your wife's Crimson Dawn this year." "Thank you for your kind words, Madam Mo." Master Dongfang nodded with a smile. If nothing unexpected happens, Crimson Dawn should also be preserved in the main hall. After all, it has the value of being preserved in the main hall. Master Dongfang seemed to be thinking of his wife, and his voice slowly lowered. Arbor wasn't someone who knew how to comfort others, so he didn't say anything after glancing at him. Master Dongfang, He Wei-Ping, and the others led Mo Lian, Arbor, and the others forward for a while and pointed ahead. "The front hall is there. There are countless forks in the road from here. Since everyone is fated to be together, let's go forward together." Zhang Jing and the others also had the same idea and nodded repeatedly. Excellent. Their intuition told them that they would definitely benefit greatly if they could move together with Madame Mo and the others. Although this little madam was indeed a bit deceitful in the beginning, she was powerful. She threw away a rare item like the Holy Power Bead without any hesitation. It was obvious how powerful this madam was. "Please." Master Dongfang raised his hand forward. The group followed him to the front hall in a single file. Entering the front hall was as easy as blowing off dust, and the front hall door opened with a push. No one needed to exert any effort at all. "Is the front hall so easy to enter?" Dao Wuji raised his eyebrows and asked. "Your Excellency doesn't know." Master Dongfang said with a smile. There are countless forks from the front hall to the middle hall, let alone the main hall. It's useless to just enter the front hall. There were also people who wandered around the front hall for dozens of hours, but in the end, they were teleported out with nothing. So don't think that the entrance to the front hall is easy to enter. That's because it's waiting at the back. If you don't pass the test, you might not even be able to touch the door to the main hall. Everyone nodded in agreement with Master Dongfang. Baby Mo lay in Mo Lien's arms and looked around for a long time. Wait! Mo Lien was speechless. She lowered her head and glanced at the little fellow. She stopped in the middle of the front hall. This place was completely empty. There were only a few pillars as far as the eye could see. There was really nothing to linger around. Father, put me down. Baby Mo wriggled its small body. Mo Lien helplessly placed him on the ground. What are you doing? Give me a moment. Baby Mo took out a small shovel from his inner world and walked over to a tile. Under the dumbfounded gazes of the crowd, he began to pry it open. Yes, pry the floor tiles. This little trick was incomparably fast. Every pry was accurate, and within seconds, the entire floor tile was pried open. Mo Lien raised her hand to cover her face. She really wanted to pretend that she didn't know her own son. After the floor tile was pried open, Baby Mo took out a bag from his inner world and directly put the thing under the floor tile inside. Chapter 5660. He Wei Ping couldn't help but exclaim, "What is that?" Everyone ran forward and circled around Baby Mo's little figure. Baby Mo's little eyes looked warily at them and hurriedly grabbed the last handful of things into the bag. The bag's mouth suddenly tightened and he held it tightly in his little paw. The little guy roared in a childish voice, "What do you want to do?" These people all had bright eyes as they looked dumbly at him. They looked like they wanted to get a share of the loot. Not possible. What he picked up was something he wouldn't share with anyone else. Everyone couldn't help but twitch their mouths. Look at this child's gaze. They just went up to take a look out of curiosity. Look at him, he was so wary, covering his little bag with a stinky expression. He really was a stinky baby. Give one to mother. Jojo Darren also walked over curiously and reached out a small hand to his son. Baby Mo jumped to his mother's side and handed over the little bag to his mother. This really was a difference in treatment, everyone thought speechlessly. Arbor opened the bag and looked. Her eyes lit up. It's cold space sand. As soon as Xiao Mu finished speaking, everyone couldn't resist exclaiming all at once. Cold space sand. Is it really cold space sand? TSK, you know what that is. Of course I know. This is a material that forgers use to forge holy artifacts. With the help of this cold space sand, the success rate of forging holy artifacts will be higher. Everyone chattered, but Arbor's attention wasn't on this at all. She was only thinking that this bag of cold space sand could make Lil Cauldron half full. She wondered if the crescent moon on Lil Cauldron's body could be lit up. The mother and son exchanged a knowing look and silently put away the bag of frigid space sand. Turning her head to look, she saw the other Shouja of Sacred Realm were all squatting in front of the tiles and digging. Arbor, Baby Mo. Uncles and aunties, what are you doing? Baby Mo asked with a puzzled expression. Everyone was digging in full swing. Zhang Jing turned to look at the child and said seriously, I'll learn from you. Mo Lien walked up and looked down at his wife. Could it be that the floor tiles below are filled with frigid space sand? What are you thinking about? Xiao Mu brusquely cast her husband a glance. No, there's no frigid void sand. Baby Mo shook his head honestly. There's only one under the tile I dug. There's nothing else. If there was, he would have continued digging. How could he have the chance to benefit others? Then what are they doing? The corner of Everlasting Blade's mouth twitched. He thought to himself that this bunch of people from the sanctuary were pretty unlucky. Of all the things they could do, they just had to follow Mo's family. Along the way, he would probably suffer a lot of blows. Madam M.O., young Master M.O., is there any more frigid void sand here? Master Dongfang couldn't stand it anymore and couldn't help but ask. No. Baby M.O. shook his head firmly. Definitely not. Master Dongfang, after a moment of silence, Master Dongfang coughed lightly and took a few steps forward. He said to everyone in a clear voice, "Everyone, please listen to me." At this time, everyone was full of enthusiasm. Hearing Master Dongfang's voice, they all stopped and looked over. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.